Welcome to Summoner's Rift, everybody, for Game 1 between Collective Effort and TA Light. This is the first best of 5 of the 2022 CCS season. Oh boy, am I excited. My name is Lindor, here with Orion, bringing you this best of 5 series.
Yeah, and this one, like we mentioned a little bit earlier, should be a pretty long one, I would say. Both games that were played in the regular season by these teams were TA Light 1, but it was a 35-minute game 1 and a 40-minute game 2. So definitely longer games than what I would say. Like, if you're a good team, you probably want to close out games anywhere like 25 to 30 minutes probably. So probably even less than that if they're just like complete crushes. So we'll have to wait and see. But, you know, if you are the side of Collective, you definitely don't mind scaling this one out. You have the you have the ornaments coming through. You even have the Ziggs late game damage as well. And you have a bit of an early game power as well with the Lucian and the Graves if you do decide to go for some of those skirmishes around those areas. And if you are TA Light in this one, I would say you have some laning advantages early on, except for maybe mid lane. You have the Gnar in the top lane. Senna TK is a very strong 2v2 duo. But so far, everything's just kind of hanging out. So we're seeing a little bit of trading happening here. It's typically what we see out of most top laners here. Like, it's just going to be trading back and forth, trying to fight for that wave control, which is typically done with their HP bar. But so far, everything's just kind of hanging out. But there is that trade in the mid lane with the bottom there. Able to dash forward, do very, very quick damage, and it's hard for Nika to answer that in the mid lane.
Yeah, so far pretty standard starts here. It was, of course, Drip Irrigation starting leashless on the top side. So TA Light might not have the best idea of where that Graves is pathing towards, but it is Spoozy going for a traditional 6 kind of clear on the Volibear, actually a little bit ahead in tempo of this Graves for the time being. Another thing to note is this is going to be the fasting Senna here for ADC ARAM. Fleet footwork here, and it is Cynical Support picking up the majority of the CS so far. So we'll see those Senna stacks stacking up a little bit faster in this one. Otherwise, Orion, yeah, you touched on this mid lane matchup. It is, of course, going to be Lucian favored, but if Dr. Phil and Chill can get an early kill with the help of Spoozy, I think this matchup can definitely be turned on its head pretty fast here in this one.
Yeah, and the one thing with the leashless Graves here is that the other TA Light has like no idea where this Graves is. Obviously, I think both laners showed basically at the same exact time. Volibear is trying to look in this mid lane, which we did talk about. He's trying to make a lot of plays. Dr. Phil and Chill, I believe, flashed in that mid lane. He did get Lobotomy's flash as well. Unfortunately, weren't quite able to get that one on directed camera, but still, getting that early flash is going to be really good. But that did cost Dr. Phil and Chill's flash in the mid lane. But Drip Irrigation, like we said, they have no idea where he is. And Hook's going to land.
Hook from Cidermill is going to find its mark. It's going to be a Cynical Support. Actually, just walking away, he says, all right, my life is given up. I'm not going to waste any cooldowns. I'm not going to risk stepping backwards and maybe leading them into my Senna. So that will be First Blood going over into the hands of Drip Irrigation. Nice little 6 camp clear, actually 5 camp clear, skipping the Krugs and getting to that gank early on, and of course the dredge line there from Cidermill finding its mark. They are going to now, both teams see each other in the bot side river here, but Drip Irrigation is going to be able to claim up that Scuttle Crab. So far these junglers are very, very even through this one. Spoozy also skipping out on those Krugs to go for some early gank angles. So of course that First Blood for Drip Irrigation is the main difference in this game so far.
Yeah, and it was just nice timing there by Drip Irrigation. He cleared all of his camps, and he realized that they had an angle with the hook landing through, and, you know, Cidermill able to land that one, and does result in a kill. Those sums were blown, though, so obviously, like, a return kill, it won't be as, I would say, easy in that lane, but it does look like the lane could be potentially pushing out, but Graves opting into basing here. Actually decides to cancel that recall. Nautilus is in the river, gonna pass over a ward, so they might get overconfident here, knowing that Nautilus is actually in river, but even then, Nautilus is actually sprinting into the bot lane here, with Drip around as well. They could potentially be another kill here.
Oh, ADC ARAM and Cynical Support didn't respect this for a second. ADC ARAM does have to flash away from that dredge line. The repeat gank in the bot side is going to get a summoner spell out, as Drip Irrigation now going to get face checked, actually has a couple autos onto ADC Aram, who now has to burn the heal. They're looking to maybe bait this as Volibear is coming for, but Aram just gets eviscerated. Drip Irrigation picks up his second kill of the game, and now Spoozy is forced to run away. They're looking for the chase down here. Cidermill might have that dredge line up soon. Some damage over the wall from the Ziggs is going to get the flash out from Spoozy, but 2 for 0 here. Collective getting the better of this early game. Drip Irrigation into the bot side twice is going to come up with a couple kills.
Yeah, and that was actually a really good punish there. Once again, obviously, he was, I would say, basically banking on that play being successful because he wasn't going back to his topside camps, which is where he did start in this matchup. But with not having a recall yet, he's probably most likely going to end up clearing most of his camps. Actually, going to clear the Raptors straight into a base here, so nothing really happening there. But this mid lane matchup is actually very even here. Both mid lane are sitting at 48 CS with, I think, a little bit more CS to pick up here in the mid lane here for Dr. Phil and Chill. So doing a really solid job here in the mid lane, Dr. Phil and Chill is actually being able to neutralize some of Lucian's early power. And just being able to kind of stabilize this matchup. I would assume at some point Lucian's going to end up building a Hex Drinker just to kind of nullify a little bit of what Nico's damage actually is.
Right.
But so far everything is just kind of being evened out. Graves is going to be on the top half of the map for a very long time. He has 3 camps to clear and the Scuttle Crab clear as well. As Nar's wave is in a pretty awkward spot for him. He does hit level 6 though. Oh, nice cancel. Tista hit 6-2. Here it is!
Wants to go for it. Call the Forge God coming through. Junglers are on the way. Meanwhile, mid lane, they are trading alties. Souter actually getting very low here. Is now the Mininar. No jump available. Drip Irrigation is here, but Spoozy might be the first into the fray. Going forward is Tizda. Flashing the Brittle Proc is going to follow the flash out of UBC. Souter, the Gnar goes down. And again, it's the Collective here first to the punch, and they grab another kill on the top side.
Yeah, and Collective is looking really good here at the start of the game. You know, you wouldn't think this is a team that went 4-5 in the regular season and barely made playoffs, but as of now, they're actually punishing a lot of the wave management here that TA Light is not quite able to do efficiently. And also we saw in the mid lane there, Dr. Phil and Chill did have to burn ulti, was able to save flash there. I think there was the roam over, maybe from Flan and Cidermill to kind of potentially threaten a kill there, but it was able to back away, not taking too much damage there, so good by him. But ultimately, so far, you know, a lot of the early pace of the game is being dictated by Collective, and they have the goldie to kind of show for it.
And Orion, you talked about how Spoozy on this Volibear kind of had the burden of execution through this early game. He is the guy who wants to be getting things done early so that he doesn't fall off come later on, because this Graves scales so much better. So far, it's been the exact opposite. Spoozy has not had a fantastic game. Nice little juke there with the clone from Dr. Phil and Chill, but it's been Drip Irrigation first to the punch on every single one of these ganks so far. Spoozy just a couple seconds behind, and here now it is going to be the Dragon started up. Drip Irrigation with a little bit of priority coming through from Flan, and Cidermill should be able to grab this one up pretty easily. And I mean, look at this Graves already, 201, almost has a full Eclipse already in inventory, has 900 gold as well just sitting in his pocket, and so feeling incredibly strong on this Graves pick, which, I mean, you said it, it's more for the scaling, it's more for the farming, already 201 on this pick.
Yeah, and Graves is not only going to get quicker with his clear speed too. So yes, Volibear does have that innate advantage built in, but Graves is eventually going to start just chewing through a lot of these camps, and he's back in the bot lane as well. ADC Aram still has no flash.
They wanted seconds, now they want thirds. Oh, the line is going to clip after the flash there from Cynical Support. He is going to be able to go into the W, but the kill comes through anyways. Ignite from Cidermill, grabbing the last tick of that one. 4-0 as meanwhile, topside Tizda looking for the call of the Forge God. Souter's going to be able to hop away from that one. Maybe actually now looking for a positive trade himself. He's about to go mega. Going to find a stun. Going to find the Gnar into the wall. Can he finish this one off? Boulder toss getting Tizda very low. A little bit of disrespect here out of the Ornn, but luckily for him, the level up is actually going to save his life. He escapes with 100 HP, but luckily for him, just barely able to get away from that scenario.
Yeah, besides that top lane play that just happened, Collective has been doing really, really solid so far in this one. Definitely like to see this type of turnaround, I would say, from their regular season performance. And, you know, this is a team that we kind of expected to kind of see as this game did go on. Spoozy using the clone to face check the bush. He is actually knowledge here.
Drip Irrigation has been found out. Luckily for him, he's got the E, he's got the flash. Just barely able to get himself out of the Pot Blossom there. Really fantastic effort from Dr. Phil and Chill. Gets the root over the wall into the Flash Pot Blossom, but the CC was not enough to keep Drip Irrigation in place, so he will actually just get out. Trade of flashes there in the mid lane. That's about it so far.
Yeah, but that's a pretty big trade of flashes there because, like we talked about earlier, Nico has a pretty hard time of actually getting into some of these fights without that flash ability. So using it for a bit of a trade there is, I would say, favored to the rest of the collective here. But it does look like Volibear's hopping over the wall. Tista does not have flash.
Flash from Spoozy, going to find the stun. Now it's going to be UBC Souter looking to join the fray. He's not quite Mega, trying to build up this bar, but it doesn't matter. Spoozy's got the damage. Going to take a bite out of Ornn and take out Tizda. Finally able to put themselves on the board as another dredge line here from Cider Mill is going to find its mark. Cynical Support wanted to go forward there, is going to get interrupted, and I think he's going to be glad he did, because I don't think that was a voyage he wanted to go on.
See, that's the thing, though. I think Cynical Support wouldn't have actually minded that trade because they're just continuously getting poked out by this Ziggs over and over again, and there's not real much they could do about it. Larry is going very aggressive.
No flash available for Dr. Phil and Chill. The culling will come out. Dawning Shadow to provide some shields, but it's not enough to keep him alive. The culling finds the back of his head, and Lobotomy Larry is on the scoreboard on this Lucian. Might even be able to knock another plate off of this tower. This is the man in the mid lane for Collective that we've seen time and time again dominating throughout this split. Now, with a solid lead, maybe he can transition this into something more as we come through into the mid game here.
Yeah, and TA Light is running out of options very, very quickly with what they can actually do in this game. They do have a pretty big CS lead being built up here by UBC Sauter in this top lane, which is kind of what we expected to go in this matchup. But still, it's like you've got Lucian starting to win over the Nico, which in a side lane, Lucian will continue to dominate that matchup. And the Ziggs is getting to a point where he can probably 1v2 this lane, just perma throw his little water balloons at the mini wave, and there's not much Sin and TK can actually do about stopping them unless he does get knocked up by TK. So that's going to activate Cider Mill on the map to not only play for his mid laner, but continue to let Drip Irrigation dominate the map. And as a result of them dominating the early game so far, Gale Force actually is the item of choice here for the Lucian. And the Eclipse already being purchased by Drip Irrigation. These guys are ready to fight.
They sure are. And so looking at this from the side of TA Light, there's a dragon spawn in about 40 seconds. I think they might have to give that one up. We'll see if they want to fight for it. No flash, Dr. Phil and Chill. No Dawning Shadow available, so we'll see what they want to do with what they've got available to them. But how would you like to see them pilot out these next couple minutes? As actually Spoozy's going to get caught out, is going to go into the Unstoppable for a moment, but that's going to follow him. He's still going to get knocked up, getting bursted out. He is going to go down. Pot Blossom finds no one over the corner, and another pickoff into the hands of Lobotomy Larry. Now 2 kills on this Lucian. Off to the races here. Flan, though, might be caught out. Cynical Support actually is going to be the one maybe getting caught out now, as there's some reinforcements coming through here for the Zig. Cynical Support looking for some alcove gaming. There's no way out here for a Catfish. There's nowhere to swim. There's nowhere to run. Does have pop the shield, but unfortunately will be going down. Flan picks up the 7th kill of the game here for the Collective, and I think their prize will be the dragon on top.
Yeah, I mean, a bit of an overstep there by Cynical Support, trying to punish Flan, even though they just made a play in River, so they were basically able to just kind of sprint down to that bot side. But, you know, UBC Sauter does actually have a 2-level advantage over Tizda, so he is actually performing very well on this Gnar. But this is the second dragon of the game going to go over to the Collective here, and it's probably going to result in, let's see what dragon has been spawning up here. It is the Ocean Rift here, and you definitely like to see that, you know, for your potential soul coming through. Ocean Soul, as probably everyone knows, is a very, very strong soul. It's definitely not one of those that you can just kind of give up for free and say, oh, okay, it doesn't matter. Like, it's not Cloud Soul, basically. But, you know, at the end of the day, like, I guess, like, so far in this game, they do kind of have this, like, scaling, like, late game advantages so for, like, just like their lane allocation and how this game is going, and they've already built up a 2.3 gold lead besides the Gnar going to lead.
Irrigation's into the bot side. Dredgeline's going to find him. That's the ultimate as well. Taken out. Cynical Support for the 4th time this game. This Tom Kench really struggling. I think Collective have an appetite for Catfish, because as they are picking on this Tahm Kench so far. They're going to be able to knock off maybe this entire tower on the bot side. Souter trying to race for first tower on the top side, though. One more auto attack might have won the race, but he's not quite in time. But Spoozy is here. They're going to find the stun onto Tizda. They'll finally grab their second kill. Lobotomy Lair is here. He's going to go forward with the Relentless Pursuit. Now it's Gale Force backwards. Culling going to try and find the back of the bear here. Souter on the run as well, but now they've got it back. Stormbringer, the heals. Spoozy turns it around. They're going to find the shutdown. But on the bot side, the push still going strong here for the collective. They're going to grab their second tower here. It's now the Mega Inferno Bomb to try and prevent Cynical Support for looking for anything else here. Dredgeline is going to be sidestepped away. But look at this. It's going to be Shelly spawned up on the top side. There's a punch back here for TA Light. They finally found a way maybe into this game. It's through Souter in the top side. They're going to equalize towers. They did grab some shutdown gold onto the Lucian, and now the gold lead only just over 1,000 gold for the collective.
Yeah, and not only that, but they're actually able to take the mid tower on top of that as well from Dr. Phil and Chill. So that's going to be a 3-for-2 tower trade and a 2-for-1 trade in kills as well. And like you said, the gold lead has actually been trimmed down a lot. And, you know, obviously in terms of the kill score, it's still 8-3. So collective probably still feels like they're still very much in charge of how this game has been going. But I'm very surprised the bottom of Larry decided to dash in like that into the volley bear. Taking a lot of very initial chuck damage. He was able to get the flash out of Spoozy using the culling there, but Spoozy having really good knowledge, actually able to use the Dawnbringer Stormbringer, sorry, to jump right on top of him, chunking him out, basically outright killing him there. And that's the Lucian as a whole as a champion right there. It's like, yes, he does do a lot of damage, but like we talked about earlier, he can be popped basically at any given time in any fight if he does take one wrong step.
Yeah. It's the duality of these marksmen in the mid lane. Yes, they can get massive advantages. Yes, they can carry like no other champion in the mid lane, but they do have quite a bit of counterplay. If they get CC'd up, if they get caught out at all, they do in fact go pop. And Spoozy shows you right there how that can work, turning that fight around. A little bit of a mechanical misplay there for Lobotomy Larry. Feels like maybe feeling a little bit too excited there in game one of a playoff series, trying to get into that fight as fast as possible with the Relentless Pursuit, but nonetheless is still doing all right in this mid lane matchup. 2 kills, 1 death, not going to be faring too poorly. I want to check in on this Senna matchup because it does look like a pretty big lead here for Flan in the bot side in terms of CS, but actually there's going to be a fight breaking out here. Stun coming down onto Drip Irrigation. Doesn't look like TA Light want to fight for anything else. They know Lobotomy Larry's here. Speaking of, might be a little bit caught out here. Spoozy going to find a little bit of damage with the lightning, but now it is TA and collective kind of splitting pathways here. But checking in on the Senna lane. They're pretty even in CS if you add the Tahm Kench and the Senna together. And the stacks so far for the Senna are just creeping up over 40. 43 now, so it does have a couple, every 20, I believe, gets a little bit of extra range.
Sauter is actually getting cut out this top side. Cidermill and Drip is wrapped around him.
Yeah. This is a 1v3. This poor Yordle not even getting off the interrupt from Cidermill. Finds the root there with the auto attack. It is unfortunately Tizda picking up the kill, but Souter definitely a bit overextended there, wanting to maybe put some pressure on the map for his team to try and challenge for this dragon, but just a little bit too early, pushing up too far on that top side.
Yeah, and it's most likely going to be a pretty big fight coming up here for this dragon spawning in about 20 seconds. And I would say if before the 2 towers went down, and actually the 3 towers went down, I would say, you know, it would be a pretty hard fight for TA Light to actually contest here. But instead, with the game being a lot more even, and with the position they're in currently, this is where Nico can kind of thrive. Like, so champions have to run into her to get into this pit. That Poth Blossom is going to do a lot of work. But at the same time, when Flan lands these bombs, he can actually just basically stop the fight from ever starting if they so choose to just basically poke out. But fight starting.
Engaged. Cidermill's going to find it. He's got a knock up. That's going to be the Pop Blossom into the back. It's going to be a stun onto 4, but I don't know if it's enough. Dr. Phil goes down. Now it's going to be Spoozy's turn to go forward. He's looking for something. Nar's going to find an ultimate, but it's only going to find 1 stun. It's now Tizda in the middle of it all. Flan still alive. Lobotomy Larry in the backside. The 2 carriers for the collective have survived the entire engage, and now it's just a matter of cleaning up the rest of the fight. Lobotomy Larry here actually going to get it turned around on him. Almost is going to go down. Flan is the solitary man standing alone on the rift. He'll take on the dragon in a 1v1. What a fight here from both sides. Can Flan even get this? I don't know. 1,300 damage now on this. Oh my goodness! The Dawning Shadow is flashed away from. The dragon has not been secured. It's a 5-for-4 team fight after all things clear.
Yeah, and we're probably going to get basically a round 2 of that situation. Looks like Drip and Saturmio are both making their way towards that area. Flan does have the TP available, so very likely we're going to see Ziggs TPing into this fight as well. We do have respawn timers coming through. Ornn and Lucian slowly coming back to this fight, and it's going to be a round 2. ADC Aram, it's been cut out. Oh, Hook misses. Ooh.
Oh no, he's gonna get bombed back now. Does have to flash over the wall. Will be okay for the time being. Should be able to heal up. There's lots of honey fruit around on this Ocean Rift. Does have some heals himself with the Senna, but that means that the collective are gonna have the inside track to this dragon this time. Let's take stock of what ultimates we have available. Souter has his, but he's Mininar. This is gonna be the engage now onto Cidermill. Gonna find a knock up there from Cynical Support. Pop Blossom again is gonna find 2. Drip Irrigation on the left side. Souter's trying to go Mega. Souter's gonna stay alive just long enough. Mega Inferno Bomb not gonna do enough. Culling now gonna find the face of Souter, but it's not gonna finish him off as well. Low health bars here for TA Light. Root coming through. Lobotomy Larry, 50% HP. Cynical Support into the middle again. He's got the thick skin, but he gets eviscerated. He trades one, and here comes Spoozy. He finds another. 2-for-1 so far. TA Light fighting for their lives here. It's ADC Aram going down. Spoozy in the middle of 3. He'll be falling as well. But Dr. Phil and Chill, what can he do? He recalled back to pace. He TP'd into the fight for the 3rd time around this dragon, but he's in a 3 versus 1. Souter is in base, trying to find a way into this fight, but no Pop Blossom available. Dr. Phil and Chill, can he find a Miracle Steal? Doesn't look like he's gonna go for it. Round 2 goes to collective effort. They are now on Ocean Soul points.
Yeah, and like we talked about here for TA Light, yes, they do have the Pop Blossom, yes, they do have the Gnar, but so do Collective with their AoE ultimates. Ziggs' Mega Inferno Bomb was doing so much work in both iterations of both round 1 and round 2. Tista able to actually use the Ornn Horn to soak up just so much damage and prevent a lot of what TA Light wanted to do in that fight. Dr. Phil and Chill was able to get in the fight a little bit, but Pop Blossom just didn't quite do enough, and he basically got one shot straight afterwards. And the fight was the only reason the fight was as close as it was first time around was because they were able to land a lot of that late AoE fight for that fight, and also the dragon was able to even kill Lobotomy Larry towards the end of round 1, sniping him out a little bit, but still. We can see the level of difficulty that TA Light does have fighting through this Ornn. This guy is just tanking up so much damage, and with Flan and Lobotomy Larry doing so much damage in the backline, it's just so hard to actually run through this champion, which is what Spoozy really wants to do.
Yeah, and now it's going to be Lobotomy Larry with the culling. Devour comes through to save ADC Aram, who will be okay for the time being. Mega Inferno Bomb is going to find it onto Spoozy and ADC Aram. Some burn damage coming through. The Leandres means they have to evacuate the premises. The turret will go down with a satchel charge. That's going to be a little bit of extra gold here into the pockets of the collective. They have vision control over the top side of the map here. They do have control of the Baron area. We'll see if maybe they want to try and bait TA Light into an engagement there around that area for the time being, though. They do have some side waves here that they need to pick up, so they'll do that first.
Yeah, but it's a nice job taking with the mid lane tower. Obviously, without having that mid lane safety, it's a lot harder to kind of play for that vision, which is going to be the main objective here for the next couple of minutes. Because you kind of had to have that vision before you fight for the dragon. Drip Irrigation going a little bit, I would say, too ham here, but he does have his teammates around him, just in case if things do get kind of spicy here in this area. But so far, like I said, both teams trying to play for that vision, trying to play for that control. They do have a sneaky ward behind that red buff pit there, so it does prevent, well, not prevent, but it does give them a little bit extra, I would say, unknown knowledge that TA Light necessarily knows, but so far, the next primary objective here is this top tower, and with Flan and Lobotomy Larry in this area, especially Flan, this guy is doing a lot of work on the Ziggs this game. 5, 0, and 8, landing multiple bombs, and ADC Aram's getting caught out.
Yeah, he just gets destroyed, and now the fight's going to come
Pop Blossom.
It's going to be Pop Blossom onto 3, but they've already lost the fight. It was a 3v5. Make that actually, sorry, a 3v4, and it's won in the collective's way. It's in their favor. They are going to now break open this top lane tower. They might even push for more here. How much of this standing gold can they grab? 3 in the death chamber here on the side of TA Light for 20 plus seconds. Souter's still putting in work here against the Ornn, but like you said, Orion, this Ornn just gets so tanky. I mean, look, full combo from UBC Souter does like maybe a third of his HP if he's lucky. So really can't get anything down here on the bottom side. And actually, Tizda now maybe looking for it. Brittle Prop comes through. Nice flash from the Gnar. Souter still wants to fight this one out. but the Searing Charge is going to pick it up. That makes it a 4-0 for the Collective. They are now just over 6,000 gold lead.
Yeah, and that's not what you want to see if you're TA Light. The last standing piece that TA Light kind of had a little bit of hope with was the fact that Gnar was beating up on this Ornn in the side lane. But Ornn is just this tanky, unmovable champion in the side lane at this stage of the game, and he even just outright solo killed him there. Sauter not quite knowing his damage on the Gnar there, disrespecting a little bit of what Ornn is capable of doing, and we are approaching the soul point here for Collective in 1 minute. And if you thought Ornn was hard enough to kill, wait till he has the Ocean Soul in his back pocket.
Cider Mill almost getting picked off a little bit there, but going to be all right. They're just trying to take full control of this blue quadrant of the top side of the map so they can make sure that there's no way in for TA Light. If TA Light have to face check this entire jungle, contesting this dragon becomes nigh on impossible. There are some ornaments coming through now. Tizda gonna upgrade the Gale Force of Philly B. There it is in for Flan as well. So a couple upgraded items coming through already for the carries here. It looks like Spoozy maybe wants to try and find a way in. Dragon spawning in 30 seconds. Cidermill's actually going to be first. He's a little bit too far ahead of his team. He's looking very, very low. Pop Blossom on the left side, or sorry, the right side.
Sauter!
Shield. Sauter's in. That's going to be a big Gnar. He's going to find the stun on it too. Spoozy goes golden for a moment. The shield will come down. Can he look to finish off the fight? No. Triple kill here for Lobotomy. Larry, he's looking for the Quadra. He's going to find it. ADC Aram's the last to fall. Give it to Lobotomy. Larry, give him the pentakill, baby. Drip Irrigation says, nah. This is the playoffs, man. We take every kill we can get. They'll clean the fight up with the full 5-0. And now they're pushing into the base. They have to wait a couple seconds here for their wave. I think the plan is inhib and then grab your Dragon Soul. From there, the game should be pretty easy for the Collective.
Yeah, and if you're TA Light here, you're probably doing a little bit of pre-planning for game 2. It's a 10k. Oh, actually, they're just looking to go straight for the base.
Yeah, they say, screw a Dragon Soul. We don't even need it. Y'all are still dead for a couple extra seconds.
Have 6.
Turret 1 is going to go down. Drip Irrigation tanking this tower. They're just barely going to have that one fall. The Nexus will now be the target. Spoozy's trying to buy time and looking to focus Lobotomy. Larry, Mega Inferno Bomb is going to find so much damage. And the Collective confidently able to finish off game 1 here. 27-minute victory.
Yeah, and, if you're a TA Light member, all of a sudden you're like, okay, this series probably isn't going to be as easy as we thought. Collective came in here, especially the last time we had Mr. Flan and Lobotomy Larry on our little talk show. They basically said, if we make playoffs, we're winning the entire thing. Easy peasy. And they showed up game 1 with some confidence in game 1. They basically had full control of that game all the way through. We saw Drip Irrigation making a lot of plays on the bot side, punishing Senna and TK, and just outright just doing a very solid job. And then Flan, as the game went on, was just landing so much damage with the AoE bombs that even though they had to go through the tight corridors, yes, they had Nico's Pop Blossom, they had a lot of tools for themselves. They just couldn't get through the front line of Tizda. The guy was unmovable on this corner.
Felt like TA Light needed to be ahead to have a chance through the mid game there in that one, and unfortunately it was Drip Irrigation, despite maybe it not being the expected plan for him given the jungle matchup, but was able to get involved early on in this game, had a couple of kills in the bot side like you mentioned, Orion, and then transitioned it into the mid lane. Lobotomy Larry 11-3-5 here in game 1. I know the memes Lobotomy and the 4 wards, but all things considered, I think great game from Drip Irrigation. Tizda playing a huge part, being a role player there on the top side, losing gracefully to the Gnar there, and Cidermill had some clutch engages as well on the Nautilus.
Yeah, and the one thing I talked about here for Collective is that the 4 players around Lobotomy Larry are going to have to step up and going to have to play at a very high level for them to win this series. And so far, it's only game 1, but they've definitely shown that capability of winning that one out. So kudos to them in game 1, but if you're TA Light, you're going to have to make some changes in draft a little bit because obviously they did have a pretty solid plan. I do believe Collective is the one that gets to choose game 2 side selection. So yes, they did win, and now they even get to choose what side they want as well.
Yeah, that was TA Light selecting red side there for game 1. So you're absolutely right. Collective do get the side selection for game 2. And so after that victory from the Collective, we're going to be moving on. We'll see what TA Light can, or how TA Light can adapt here in game 2 when we come back. We'll be back in just a couple. Welcome back, everybody, to the CCS playoffs. It is the Collective versus TA Light here tonight, and after a pretty convincing, I would say, Game 1 victory here for the Collective, they are back on the blue side for Game 2. Orion, what's your read on that? Obviously, Collective pretty happy that TA Light picked red side for Game 1, and now it's just going to be keeping it the same. So for TA Light, what sort of adaptations would you like to see them here for Game 2?
So see, going into draft in game one, obviously they had a pretty split focus in some of their bans. They banned out Yone. They ended up banning out the Aatrox and Jinx. They basically banned out the three champions that are probably sort of towards the top of some of the comfort picks of these teams. But they opted to picking a very early Graves, and obviously the jungle matchup with Volibear can go either way. But Suzy wasn't quite able to make things early happen enough, and then also, the bot lane of TA Light was just getting punished over and over again by this Nautilus pick coming through for Collective. So I'm not sure if they're willing to make any changes coming through with pick and ban as we are getting started up. So far, it is the same bans for both teams. And if you're Collective, you're probably not wanting to change anything. Like, okay, like we had a very solid game plan. We executed our game plan all the way through the game. We didn't really we had some small hiccups here and there, but other than that, it was like complete control all the way through. And so far, TA Light doesn't see any real reason to change that. As we are seeing the Ari come through. But big change coming through is the Ziggs. Flan is basically the weak side player of this team, which is why the Ziggs makes a lot of sense. But Drip feeling very confident with this Graves going right back to it on B1.
Yeah, so TA Light banned the Aatrox instead of Ziggs in game one, which is a comfort pick for Tizda. This game, they're going to want to force Flan to pick maybe a more traditional marksman, something that they can go more easily toe-to-toe with in the bot side. Like you say, Collective going to grab the Graves here early on again. We'll see if TA Light are going to be willing to go for the Senatom Kench again. Right now, the Zaya is the hover, and they will be locking that one in. I'm going to check real quick if they have too many Zaya games
I think it's like
here.
one or two
Yeah, so he does
played
have two
here.
games a little bit earlier on in the season. They were actually both losses against TA Knight.
Yeah.
But for ADC ARM, definitely has played this before.
Yeah, and it's a champion that we talked about a little bit earlier in the I know it's that's been a rising in popularity. Hecarim, though, has
Wow.
been not rising in popularity. This champion was nerfed a couple patches ago. I think it's either 12.5 or 12.6 when the champion
Yeah.
got nerfed. But obviously, this could be a comfort pick here for Spoozy, which I do feel like it is some pretty solid comfort for him. But the Vagar coming through very, very quickly, and I would not be surprised if this is Flan's Vagar. Another
Yeah.
weak side champion that can just farm up, can scale, and just have
Mhm.
so much of this zoning control power with the cage. And it just kind of fits the style. And with this Lucian being locked in here as well, they can almost
Wow.
guarantee that the Vagar's go to the bot lane. And Mr. Lobotomy Larry is feeling
Mhm.
confident on the Lucian this series.
Could, of course, be a potential flex there. But yeah, I think you're right. Lobotomy Larry performing quite well on the Lucian there in game one. And like you say, Flan seems to be more comfortable on some of these ranged zone control type mages. I think that his positioning when he does play marksman has left a little bit to be desired. And okay, Ryan, I know you want to talk about this Jace pick because we did see some nerfs coming through, but TA
Yes.
Light, they don't seem to care.
Yeah, so the Jace pick did get nerfed in lane, I would say, more or less than like his the scaling power the champion does have once you hit the two items. And I do think the Jace is a really solid pick into the three champions so far picked for the Graves, Vagar, and Lucian. But with the nerfs coming to it in lane, and I do know that Tizda is the player that typically does kind of like to challenge enemy top laners with some of the carry picks coming through. So I'm curious to see, especially with the Ornn being banned as well, that might leave him to be a little bit more open with some of the picks that he kind of likes to go for. And I'm I would honestly I'd like to kind of see him go for more of that aggressive champion just because of the Jace scaling that can come through. They already have the Graves locked in, so that could theoretically go in the top lane.
Right.
If you really, really want that, or maybe even Lucian as well, a champion that can play into Jace particularly well as well. You just
True.
dodge out on some of the abilities from the Mercury Cannon coming through, and then obviously the hammer coming through. You can just dash away from it, and Jace is just kind of left in the dust by
Mhm.
Lucian if that is the case. But
Yeah.
I would assume most likely the two champions that are kind of guaranteed is Lucian mid, Vagar in the bot lane.
Mhm.
We'll have to wait and see what this pick is here for. But so far, the Nico pick coming through again. And we
Okay.
kind of talked about how this champion struggles to get in range sometimes. And it's a
Mhm.
very similar draft so far for Collective. And they feel
Yep.
like Dr. Phil and Chill, he feels like the Nico wasn't the problem in a lot of these fights. He was able just to flash in and actually get in some distance. So I have to wait and see that one plays out. But the very common counter pick to Jace that's been rising in
Mhm.
popularity is this Malphite. And if this gets locked in, Jace is probably going to have a hard time in this top lane.
There it is. So it is going to come through. Counter pick once again here for the top lane for the Collective, and we'll see what they want to round this composition off with. You're absolutely right. Like, this composition mostly is playing for the kite, and so the Nico pick doesn't make as much sense with that in mind. If this is maybe an engage pick, maybe now the Nico can feel a little bit better with a couple champions coming in. Wouldn't be surprised to see either of these engage picks. Obviously, the Nautilus in game one was very, very strong. This time we're going to get to see the Leona. So a little bit longer engage, I do think, compared to the Nautilus there. But otherwise, like you said, Orion, very, very similar composition here from the side of the Collective. And we'll see if TA Light maybe have another adaptation to come through here. Because, yeah, there's a little bit of poke coming out from the Jace. It can scale pretty well. The Zaya in the bot lane can be an answer to some of the dive that we're seeing, can maybe get away with the Featherstorm from some of the Leona combo. But otherwise, I'm not 100% sold on this team comp. They're now going to lock in the Nautilus, and it feels a little bit disjointed to me. The Hecarim and the Nautilus going in, kind of the rest of their three champion core looking to sit back a little bit more.
Yeah, not only that, anytime the two members of the Hecarim Nautilus does want to go forward, Veigar Cage basically stops
Yeah.
any further assistance. But Jace and particularly Xayah, if they're close to Xayah, will be able to poke out with their lethality builds. So they do have that option. Obviously, Nico does have her range of her own. So it really just depends on how far forward Hecarim and Nautilus have to go to
Right.
even get on top of Lucian and Veigar. But
Hmm.
the re-engage from Malphite and Leona, if they do go too far forward, is going to be
Yeah.
very deadly. And I will say this Jace did get hurt in lane. It did, but most of the nerfs were to his health and to
Hmm.
his early armor stats.
Right.
Malphite being the AP champion doesn't necessarily have that ability to punish that AD stat, but the extra
Hmm.
health being down does help Malphite a lot in this matchup. And the matchup is very early won by Malphite, and he should be able to control the pace of the game. But eventually, Jace just gets too much HP and too much armor
Right.
pin that
Hmm.
Malphite, while Malphite is going to be building a lot of armor, there is a Nico in this game, so he will have to eventually, at some point, I would assume, not just build full tank armor,
Hmm.
but if the Nico doesn't necessarily have, because we saw in game one where the Nico just didn't have particularly a strong game,
Yeah.
he could just end up building full armor and just basically ignore Nico as if she's just a fly on the wall.
Absolutely true. I think Spoozy, again, in this game, does have some early ganking prowess on the Hecarim. Of course, ganks are a lot better for the Hecarim once they are post level 6, but I would like to see Spoozy maybe go for a little bit more of a creative path. Last game, we did see kind of a 5 camp clear into a gank in the mid lane, but it didn't quite go the way that they kind of drew it up, I would say, going into that game. So here for Spoozy, I think the 6 camp clear for the Hecarim is solid. But being a little bit unpredictable past that point, I think, is going to do him a favor because Drip Irrigation was a bit unpredictable in that game one, going for an early gank, skipping his 6th camp in the early game there in game one, getting the return gank then back into the bot side, and then even came a 3rd time later on, right? So really was uh, kind of breaking expectations in terms of what a Graves is wanting to get done in the early game. And so for Spoozy, I'd like to see him maybe take a page out of the Drip Irrigation book here in this one and try to get his team off to an early lead. Because I think if TA Light can start out on the right foot, this composition then, that's when it can make things happen.
Yeah, and it's also up to T Light spot lane to just not get nearly as much like punished. I would say,
Hmm.
yes, the first gank from Drip Irrigation was a little bit unorthodox. He started leashless, went to a 5 camp clear, ignored
Yeah.
Krugs, went straight bot. But at the same time, like the Nautilus just kind of walked up to the Tom Kench, hooked him, and he was able to just die without really being able to have much of a response in that lane. So hope hopefully they're able to go a little bit unpunished in this lane, or like maybe just like I would say play around the CC. Like they do have the Leona Nautilus matchup, so there is some like you can cancel Leona E with Nautilus Q and just walk away from it without letting Leona stun you because the Nautilus pushback on Q is enough of a time period where you can just walk away. But you can't go for that auto attack though. If you go for the auto attack, Leona's Q will come out.
Right.
So there is potential for like a bit of like a support outplay in this lane if you do kind of want to say that. But Plan back on this mage pick in the bot lane. This is kind of just like his style down here. And if this doesn't work for TA Light, like all of a sudden you have Ziggs, you have Veigar. Are you going to ban both? Are you going to leave it open again?
Yeah.
And it's like eventually you're just going to run out of bans for Flan because this guy is just going to like. There's multiple mage champions you can play down here in this lane and just kind of scale it out and just be this mid to late game champion that provides so much AP raw damage. And he's the only one in this champion. Sorry, the only one on his team that's going to be building this magic damage. And you're probably not going to want to be building any MR for this Veigar. And Veigar is the infinitely scaling little
Yep.
yordle of a champion that if you let him get strong enough, he can two tap you with just his Q and W.
Or even just, hit the gameplay button and say,
Oh
see you
yeah.
later.
Oh yeah.
That's always the Vagar special there. But the teams are locked and loaded, ready for game 2 here. We'll see if TA Light can strike back. But first, a short word from our sponsors, ProComps. ProComps is a first-of-its-kind drafting tool aimed for competitive and solo queue play. ProComps allows the user live feedback and analysis on drafting, giving them recommendations on picks, notes on matchups, and analysis on the enemy teams, win conditions. These features allow the user to gain an edge on their opponent and improve their drafting skills. Use the code CCS25 for 25% off of your 6 months, and we will see you for game 2.
Everybody panic! Hold on! I'm about to say something really cool. 3, 41, 9, and lift off! No one dies screaming without me. I feel like I forgot to shoot something. You're starting to bore me. She's such a loser, always ready to cry. Aw, come on. What's the worst that could happen?
We are back on to the Rift, everybody, for game 2. Once again, it is the collective effort on the blue side, TA Light on the red side. My name is Lindor, here with Orion, and it's TA Light looking to make a comeback here in this series after dropping the first game.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see just what these Jace changes are going to actually do to his laning phase. We don't necessarily have the most data in the world, but what we do have data on is that Malphite wins lane against Jace. So all you have to do as Malphite is you throw a boulder at him and you walk away, and there's not much Jace can do about it. Yes, Jace can probably win the first 2 to 3 levels of that matchup, but once Malphite gets some CDs in his cooldown, or like it levels CDs in his Q ability, and he gets the raw base damage that Malphite does have, eventually those Qs are going to start doing about 150 damage to every like 5 to 6 seconds. And as long as Malphite, like, he'll have the passive shield, he'll have the early armor from that W ability, and there's not much that Jace can really do about it in this top lane matchup. And you know, Sauter is a pretty, I would say, prominent Jace player. He's got a lot of games on it in this season alone. So we'll have to wait and see if he knows this matchup particularly well and how to kind of play around it.
Definitely doesn't sound like fun and interactive gameplay when you say it like that, but we'll have to see if UBC Souter can maybe get the better of these first couple of levels, as we do see Cynical Support going in here onto Cider Mill. It's just going to be the trade back and forth there from the supports. Pretty even trade, all things considered. A couple things to note here in terms of summoner spells and rune choices. It is going to be Exhaust this time for the Lobotomy Larry. Last game did have the Cleanse for the Volibear stun, and of course the Nika route, but this game going for something a little bit more aggressive in the Exhaust. Otherwise, pretty standard across the board. It's Glacial Augment for Cider Mill instead of the Aftershock, which is what Cynical Support has opted into picking up. And otherwise, you know, Phase Rush, I think, for the Hecarim, pretty standard. I'm not quite sure about this Conqueror, though, for the Jace. Is that common hero, Ryan? What's your read on that one?
Yeah, I actually do like the Conqueror in this one. It allows him to have a lot of consistent damage, and most likely the battles between Malphite are going to be very long and extended. Okay. You can maybe argue Face Rush, but at the same time, when you do Face Rush, when Malphite throws the Q at you, he just gets even faster.
Yeah.
With that movement speed, and he just be able to dodge out some of the damage. The one thing I don't like in this game is that Tista went Grasp. And it's going to be very hard for Tista to even proc that Grass proc onto Jace in this matchup. I would have loved to have seen Comment with the Mana Flow band. You can throw Qs way more often. You can honestly just do a lot more damage to the Jace and even like threaten kills even earlier on. So far, Drip has done the very similar path as game one, but Ward already been placed in this bot half of the map. So. But they do know that Spoozy is also on the bot half of the map with that vision cone were being displayed on the map. You can very easily see that. And we're not going to have the same gank presence that we had in this bot half of the map here. So far, it's just a relatively even game. We do have Drip going up to the top half of the map. And Jace still hasn't quite gotten this wave in yet, so he might have to be careful because Drip is coming in. He does have a ward, though.
Yeah, Drip is going to get spotted now. Ping's going down, and it looks like Souter is already on the retreat, so we'll be okay there. Looking for a early recall here on the Jace, maybe to get a slightly earlier power spike than normal against this Malphite. I do think that this early clear definitely goes in the favor of Spoozy. Was able to go for a 5-camp clear into that Scuttle Crab. Didn't even have to skip out on a camp, and is now wrapping back around to his Raptors, which have already spawned for the second time. So, yeah, it is going to be Drip Irrigation. Looking here onto Dr. Phil and Chill. Nice little clone coming through. Not a lot of CC out of this Grave Solution combo. Speaking of CC, though, bot side is Dr. Phil and Chill, or rather Cider Mill, sorry, going forward onto ADC ARAM, who has to be careful, is ignited. The Featherstorm, or rather the pull back, is not going to find it, but the Ignite from Cynical Support is just enough to tick away at Cider Mill's HP. This time it's First Blood to the TA Light bot side.
Yeah, and I'm not sure why Cider Mill even went for that play. Your laning partner's a Veigar with not a lot of consistent damage, and you're going onto a Xayah and a Nautilus that you also taking a lot of damage from those minions as well. So definitely something you don't like to see. But Spoozy already popping the ghost on this Malphite, and he's way overextended.
No mana for Tizda. There is no hope in the entire world. Does have to actually flash away. Drip Irrigation is here for some support, but Spoozy and UBC Souter want to go for that. That's going to be the Hammer Slam going down. Spoozy now trying to provide some peel, trying to tank up these auto attacks. I think Souter's got to get back into the fray here if they want to win this. 2v1. Drip Irrigation flashes away. Yeah, it is going to be Dr. Phil and Chill first to the roam into the top side. Not even needed, though. Spoozy and Souter grab another couple of kills, and this game 2 looking way different than the start we saw there in game 1. It's TA Light this time with the first couple of punches. Already 2,000 gold in the lead.
Yeah, it's, something we talked about in the first game was TA Light basically misplaying a lot of their wave situations and just getting punished by Collective. This game is the exact opposite. We have Cider Mill getting punished for going way too aggressive in a situation where he didn't really need to be going aggressive, and then top lane trying to crash that into the tower just didn't have the mana because he decided to go the grass instead of the Comet into the mana flow ban, and ultimately is the reason why he ended up dying in that situation. And also Drip trying to help him out in that situation doesn't end up falling too, and now we have a 2k gold lead, which is basically the exact opposite of how this game 1 went. Lobotomy Larry is trying to go aggressive, but the entire team of
Souter, he's going to face check into Drip Irrigation. Nice bot back there with the melee form E. Says, nah, you don't even get to come anywhere near me with that shotgun. Luckily for Souter, is able to get away from that gank. Was level 6 to Drip Irrigation's level 4, so wasn't too worried as long as the Malphite couldn't catch up. But I think Tizda did just tick to level 6, so wasn't quite in range, or wasn't quite ready for that coming through. Drip Irrigation now looking for the regank, but he is standing on a ward, has the control ward, is going to be able to clear that one out. Sauter probably has to call Spoozy up here. The wave is frozen against him currently.
Yeah, and it's also, this is a danger zone for Jace in this matchup, with Tizda hitting level 6. After you throw a couple of Qs at this Jace, he's basically at kill threat when he's around 60% HP. Because even though Jace, yes, obviously he can hammer him away, but if Malphite has that Q up and available, all he does is just throw the Q, and he just runs at Jace at a faster speed than Jace can actually get away. So we'll have to be careful in this topside matchup. But so far, he's doing a really solid job of actually just like not really falling behind. He's got he'll have the CS lead with the minions coming through here, and so far, like, this game has been very, very different. The CS lead is there in the bot side here for TA Light, and this one they do have sub minions to pick up, but it won't be able to basically garner back up the 20 CS they're already down. And so far, TA Light doing a much better job in game 2.
Yeah, complete opposite start than what we saw here in game 1. One thing I actually want to touch on that I didn't mention earlier is it's actually lethal tempo here for ADC ARAM, so going more for this crit build, I would assume. You talked a little bit, Orion, about how maybe the lethality builds with some of the nerfs that we're seeing to Gale Force might be the way to go now, especially on things like the Xayah and the Misfortune, but ADC ARAM realizing that he's probably the one who's going to have to get through this Malphite, who's going to be stacking so much armor, is going to opt for more of the crit build, more of the high DPS, back to front style here on the Xayah.
Yeah, and especially with going lethal tempo, it was probably predetermined by him that he was going to be going the either Kraken or Gale Force in this matchup, which he already has the pickaxe, 2 longswords built in, so definitely not going the lethality build in this one, which I do kind of agree. I feel like the on-hit build is definitely going to be a little bit better situated for him in this one, because he will most likely not be able to poke out the Malphite, because anytime he does kind of go for that poke, Malphite can just dive in on top of him with the Unstoppable Force.
Right.
But the great thing about Xayah as a champion is he does have, or she does have, the Featherstorm ability, which basically no other AD carry has in their toolkit. The ability to completely self-kill yourself with an invulnerability spell, which is very, very nice for the Xayah in this matchup, because it's going to be really hard for Malphite to actually want to dive in that situation. But we do have Spoozy.
Ooh, Drip Irrigation was about to base, but actually just canceled it as they went to get aggressive. It is Spoozy here in the area, has the Onslaught of Shadows as well. They're going to go on to Cidermill, who actually looks for the Zenith Blade forward, but that is just going to spell his doom. Spoozy, with the gank into the bot side, will be claiming up that kill, and it's 4-0 now for TA Light. Looking like a completely different team here in game 2.
Yeah, and that's what I talked about there with that Xayah pick coming through. Lobotomy going very aggressive.
Spoozy's here. Yeah, Lobotomy Larry is going to go into the culling. Flashes traded by the mid laners. Lobotomy Larry now on the run. Has the E over the wall. Is the chain going to land? Yes, the root will be there. The red buff slowing him down. Spoozy should be able to pick up the rest of this kill as we look in on the top side matchup. It's actually Lobotomy Larry escaping in the mid side, just barely getting away using exhaust and the flash and the culling, and will escape with an inch of his health remaining. Sauter on this top side actually doing a good job now. Hey, right up about 12 or so CS, a little bit more now, 18 as he picks up this wave. Drip Irrigation, though, looking for the gank. That's going to be the ultimate forward unstoppable is Tizda, and actually Drip Irrigation thought he had that with the fadeaway, but it is a Sauter staying alive for a moment longer. Drip Irrigation steps forward, gets the click, click, boom, and the first kill is secured now for the collective.
Yeah, and the one thing that I realized with this matchup on the top side that Tizda is not going for is he is currently maxing his E and his W ability. He has not put a single point into Q this entire game except for level 1. Which is very surprising. Tizda, no mana, but does have flash.
Uh-oh, I've seen this movie before. He was just in this position a few short minutes ago. And this time, Tizda will be going down again. 0-2-1 now on the Malphite. Of course, isn't something that you'll expect to be getting a lot of stuff done through the early stages. Will still be reliable later on in these team fights. But unfortunately, it is Sauter getting the better of this topside matchup. Spoozy in this game, way more active on the map, able to provide his team with a couple of early leads so far here in game 2. They have that Mountain Dragon under their belts, and the next one is Infernal, spawning about 15 or so.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see how this top lane matchup is going to keep evolving, because we talked about how the Malphite can have its advantages early on, but I'm not sure how this matchup plays when the Malphite maxes E instead of Q. I've never actually seen Malphite want to max E because you're very rarely in range to actually max to do damage with your E onto it unless Jace hammer forms on top of you, which typically Jace just wants to play from range into the melee champion and then use the hammer to just knock you away or jump on top of you to knock you away, as we do see. The second Dragon of the game do go over to TA Light, which does put them at a pretty solid pace here to pick up a very early Dragon Soul if they so choose to do so. So have to wait and see how that one ends up playing out. But so far, TA Light, much better job in this one. They're definitely at a much greater pace. Couple things to note is we do have the Vhagar scaling, the inevitable scaling that he is going to end up having. Also, the Malphite armor coming through, which 3 AD champions in the enemy squad does make it feel a little bit better for Malphite in this game. And we'll have to wait and see just the level, just the impact that Dr. Phil and Chill is going to end up having in this one, because most likely a lot of members aren't going to be building MR into him, and he did kind of struggle, I would say, last game, being able to actually get into fights and really do a lot of damage.
Definitely true. Two junglers are going to face off here in the topside river for a moment, but Spoozy doesn't look like he wants to catch that smoke just yet. Drip Irrigation going to clear out a couple of these wards. Both these junglers clearing at a pretty even pace. A little bit of a lead here for Spoozy, is up maybe half a level or so on this Hecarim due to the fact that he is 2-0-2. They did actually pick up the second dragon of the game already, like you mentioned there, Orion, so it could mean a 23 or so minute Dragon Soul. And this team is just a complete role reversal than what we saw in game 1, but UBC Soud are going to get picked off again with the Malphite ultimate. Now the flash coming forward, 3 into the top side here for the collective. They're going to find one on the backside. Spoozy, though, looking for it. He's looking for the re-engage. Going to find a 5-man fear. It's going to be Pop Blossom onto 2. Cidermill and Tizda are the target. Cidermill will be falling first. Spoozy, though, in the front lines, looking very low. Collateral damage will turn it back around. Drip Irrigation picks up the shutdown gold. 2 for 1 there for the collective. They find a couple in the top side, once again shutting UBC Souder out of this lane.
Yeah, and just slightly out of sync there on the side of collective there. Not quite able to chain Tizda's ultimate into Cidermill's ultimate there, so he was able to flash away, getting enough distance. Dr. Phil and Chill going very aggressive on Tizda. He does have flash. If anything gets too risky, both flashes.
Oh, Tizda with the preemptive flash there, able to get away just barely, surviving on the Malphite. I want to check in on a couple of these lane matchups, as we do see some heavy trading here in the mid lane. Souder actually, after the reset, looking to go into the mid side. Culling going to find a couple of shots, but not going to be enough to finish off the Jace. I believe that was just the exhaust out from Lobotomy Larry there as he looked for the all-in. But yeah, it's a slight gold lead here for Lobotomy Larry on the Lucian. Down on the bot side, pretty even down there. I would say maybe 10 or so gold there in the lead for ADC ARAM, but most of this lead for TA Light is going to be actually in the bot side, mostly here with the assists, and then of course in the jungle. But now that Drip Irrigation has caught up a little bit, 3 kills now to his name, is going to be feeling pretty solid now in this matchup.
Yeah, and the one thing to note out here is Spoozy's mythic item of choice is Trinity Force. Probably the what I would consider the 3rd mythic item for Hecarim in terms of like what we usually see. We usually see Kim Tank. The movement speed that you get just allows Hecarim to do just so much damage initially. And then we've also seen what I would consider the other one being like the extra empowered auto that you get from I'm actually blanking on the item. The tankier, the tankier item for Trinity Force.
Divine Sunder.
Yeah. So Divine Sunder is probably the 2nd one that we typically see. Kim Tank almost being seen every single time. So I'm curious how this Trinity Force is going to actually be played out here from the Hecarim. It will allow him to do a lot more damage in these like extended fights.
Right.
What Trinity Force is really good at. So we'll have to wait and see like if Spoozy is able to get multiple Qs off in these fights and be able to just dictate these fights, which he is very strong. And he is basically in control of this game on this Hecarim. He's going to look to continue to make plays and continue to be very active on the map. And with the dragon spawning in 50 seconds, I would say TA Light definitely does have the advantage. They have the mythics in place already. They've already purchased 4 of them. Obviously, disregarding support mythic items, they basically virtually have 0 gold. But so far, Malphite actually just went back and purchased his mythic item as well. So far, it's only the Vhagar left to purchase his. And with that Notion coming through,
there it is. Everfrost.
Everfrost is picked up, and he's able to TP. So far, all 4 for 4 mythic items. But Flan, does not quite land the cage on Spoozy, so able to get out of there. That pickup would be tremendous for them. But so far, it looks like we're going to be grouping up for this objective. Collective does not want to put themselves at a 21-minute soul point. Spawning in 10 seconds. They also have position, but they don't have mid-push, though. And that mid-push can potentially result in, like, that angle coming pretty hard.
Uzi might get caught out here, though. It is going to get locked down. Has the ultimate over the wall just barely to get away, but now look at the flank here on the bot side. Pop Blossom misses everyone. Cynical Support now is in trouble. Tisda looks for the ultimate. They're going to find one. It is the Leona going down. Actually, they trade the supports 1 for 1. Dr. Phil and Chill gets hit with the gameplay button as Souter now is on the run. Arem and Spoozy, they need to run for the hills as well. The collective have found a way back into this game, and just like that, they've evened it right back up.
Yeah, and this is 2 games in a row where Dr. Phil and Chill just can't get into the fight with Nico. He didn't have flash up, and he didn't have a way of actually keeping those members locked down long enough to actually pop up on the Blossom, doing virtually nothing in that fight. At the same time, Spoozy on a ward gets caught out by Leona, has to ulti out of the fight before virtually doing anything, resulting in a 1 fight for Collective. Dragon goes their way. They get the mid push in. They get the bot push in. Weren't quite able to get the towers, but still really well done here by Collective. Basically putting themselves back in the driver's seat of this one.
I mean, look at this. They now have bounties on 3 of their members. All 3 of their carries now sporting some extra gold there. And on the other side, everything just kind of fell apart there for TA Light. Everything was going their way. They were setting up early for the Dragon. Souter was looking for some poke like you should on the Jace. But yeah, Spoozy getting picked off, having to use that ultimate defensively. That's kind of their only go button. Yeah, Cynical Support has the Nautilus, but unless they can combo some of these ultis with Dr. Phil and Chill on the Pop Blossom, that's where their team fight really is going to shine through. And like you say, Orion, this Nico not making a huge impact so far in the 2 games here. But you do see Tisda TPing into the bot side. This could be a potential flank onto Souter. Ultimate available here for Tisda. Lobotomy Larry in his back pocket. They're going to look for the chase down here. That's going to be the ultimate coming through. Unstoppable Force is going to land onto Souter, the knocked up. But Spoozy is here. Which side is baiting who in? Souter will flash over the wall and get to safety. Nothing more to come from that.
Yeah, I think Tisda kills Souter there if he maxes Q, but that's just me. So, I mean, obviously this game is a bit of a change in pace for what we saw for virtually the entire game. Collective now is in the driving seat, and honestly, even that fight, even though TA Light has basically been winning this entire game, Collective went very aggressive early. They said, okay, we're the ones going forward. It doesn't matter if we're losing or winning this game. We're the ones that actually be dictating the pace of this game. And when you're using your Hecarim ulti, your Xayah ulti, and like, it's very defensively, it's going to be really hard to even win out in these fights, even though your Hecarim is probably your strongest member in this one. Yep. We'll have to wait and see if he's actually able to use his ulti a little bit more, I would say, aggressively, actually getting in some of these fights. Because if he has to ulti out every single fight, or like fights here to come, it's going to continue to look pretty rough. But Souter trying to push out, but Lobotommy's here.
Larry's got this one, looking to lobotomize the Jace here in the bot side. Exhaust comes through just as Souter tries to go forward. Culling plus Relentless Pursuit, solo bolo here for Lobotomy Larry. Now 3-0-2. The Collective aren't slowing up here. They finally found a foothold in this game, and they are launching off it with a purpose.
Yeah, and so far, it's just at the same time, like we saw complete control here for TA Light, but it's just being slowly but surely taken out of their hands in this one. And I would say team fights probably aren't going to get any easier if they keep losing out on a lot of these gold. Does look like TP is being invested here by Dr. Phil and Chill to save that bot tower, but you know, there goes one of your TPs, and obviously there's only one TP up and available here for Collective, being the Veigar's, which obviously he isn't the best side lane champion. But when the next TP comes up here for Tisda, they could potentially send that second member down in that bot half of the map and make a play when the Baron take isn't necessarily, I would say, all that great here for TA Light in this one.
Yeah, Collective starting to squeeze TA Light out of this game. You see them invading the blue buff. Excuse me, taking away the Gromp there as well. Even maybe fishing for a potential pick, but Dragon now spawning in a minute 30 means they will go for these resets. Look to set up for that one. It's definitely going to be potentially a breaking point now for this game, because this game is pretty much dead even in terms of gold. It is 2 dragons, of course, to the side of TA Light so far. This 4th dragon could mean a lot moving forward in this game.
Yeah, and it's basically kind of up to Collective, I guess, at this point to like continue kind of stalling out the dragon pace that TA Light's going at, because you know, if you're Collective, in order for you to get a dragon soul, you're looking at another, like, I would say 15-minute plus at the current pace. Or I guess if you get the next dragon, it'd be 10 minutes. So it'd be a 30-minute game, which, you know, you do have the Vagar scaling, you have the Malphite building up that extra armor. He is just getting so naturally tanky. But dragon spawning, 40 seconds, we're already seeing all 5 members of the bot half of the map already placing down vision, but bit of a sneaky bush here. Cidermill going aggressive, but he's getting caught out.
Oh, he's going to find the hook onto him. Has to use the shield. Dr. Phil and chills over the wall. The Pop Blossom will actually only find
nice
one,
damage.
but now they've got the depth from below. That's going to be the culling, actually finding a lot of HP off of Dr. Phil and Chill and the rest of the TA Light squad. But look at this, Tizda on the top side, still pushing away. Has teleport available in just a couple of seconds. Dragon spawning in 10 seconds. Drip Irrigation and Lobotomy Larry still fishing on the bot side. Cynical support just barely missing that dredge line. Flan could be on a potential flank here, but he has to be careful. He's all alone. Spoozy gonna get slowed up by the Everfrost. Drip Irrigation looking for the chase down here. They've actually managed to chase TA Light completely off of this objective. 50% HP on a lot of these members. I think this dragon's just gonna go over to the Collective.
Yeah, and a lot of that initial pickoff was onto Leona, but they tried to continuously chase onto Drip and Lobotomy, but Drip Irrigation was able to do so much damage with that Graves initial ultimate coming through. That collateral damage basically put all of those members to that low of HP, and with Malphite investing TP down there, and with the fact that Dr. Phil and Chill did not have TP, chose to reset and go make sure the top tower didn't die, results in the second dragon of the game, the second ocean dragon of the game, going the way of Collective here, and that's a 5% healing, I believe, 5% missing health every 5 seconds, and that's gonna feel pretty nice if you're Collective.
Absolutely it is, and they've equalized those dragon counts, like you say. Flan might get caught out in the middle here. Nice Event Horizon's gonna lock Spoozy in the cage, so we'll keep that Hecarim off him for the time being. But yeah, I mean, if you are TA Light in this game, yeah, okay, this game has kind of gone off the rails a little bit, but there's still even, or better in this game, as Cynical Support going to find himself stunned up. Solar Flare comes down, Drip Irrigation on the backside looking for the flank. It's going to be the ult coming through from Cynical Support, but yeah, he's on the wrong side of the map here. He's going to go down. TP expended for Spoozy, or rather for Dr. Phil and Chill, who looks like Spoozy right now. And oh no, UBC Souter's going to be the next to fall. Culling comes through, not even needed. Gonna grab that one. 1, 2, 3. All of a sudden, 2 in the death chamber. I was talking about how this game was equalized, and the Collective continue to try and take a stranglehold here. Drip Irrigation is gonna pick up some of this farm here in the bot side jungle. They're gonna push up on the sides. All 3 waves pushing for the Collective. And Orion, it feels like TA Light have just completely lost sight of what they were trying to do in this game.
Yeah, and the gold lead right now is only a 1k difference, but I would say basically ever since that third dragon went down, it feels like this game has just been completely in Collective's hands, and they've been completely in control all the way through. We do have Cynical Support, is Respawn coming back into this mid lane, so if they wanted to make a play, it would be now. But they do have Lucian on that bot tower, but the hook does land.
On under Drip Irrigation, they've got a lot of CC here. Yeah, they're just going to blow up the Graves, so they do find a pick-off. But it doesn't come at the best time ever. There's not a lot on the map for them to get right now. They're going to have to answer a couple of waves here on the sides. They're going to have to clear out this wave in the mid lane. And their jungle's already been stolen away by Drip Irrigation. So yes, it's some nice shutdown gold. Yes, it's a small punchback. But in terms of tangible objectives, tangible things that they could have gotten from that kill, not a whole lot for TA Light.
Yeah, I mean, obviously with the jungler being dead, there's like the potential for going straight over to the Baron and be like, okay, we can maybe force it a 4v5, but corralling into that tight area against the Malphite and against the Vagar is very, very hard to do. So obviously, like, you know, to get into the kill is nice. You kind of slow the pace of what Collective wants to do, and we're at the 26-minute mark, and this game is like dead even in gold.
Yeah. 42.2 to 40,000 at this moment. 2 minutes on this next Ocean Dragon. It would be soul point for whatever team manages to pick it up. Cidermill going to clear out some vision here around that area. It's Flan able to actually pick up the blue buff here. And this is a very strong Vagar. Let's check out how many stacks he does have. 137. Okay, actually not that many. Only has about 500 AP. Is going to get that Rabadon's in. Actually does now have that Rabadon's. So 500 AP for 26 minutes. I mean, that ain't too shabby, I guess.
Well, yeah, and especially like as a Vagar, like anytime you are able to get those stacks coming through along with the death cap, like that ability score is just going to keep going up through the roof, basically. And you know, Flan able to basically, like, he's not going to stop scaling on this Vagar. He is continuously, even though his items might reach a point where he's going to not have as much damage, he is still going to have, like, basically he's already at a very strong spike for him, and it's just going to keep going up and up. Spoozy getting potentially trying to basically just duel over some of this vision here being placed and countered out here. But all 5 members are here, and Sauter is a couple of seconds behind, but it does, the wraparound does mean the tower is going to end up falling here for Collective, and they get the mid tower basically for free.
And they'll break open the mid lane tower. That's going to open up the map for them here just a little bit. Root's coming down here. Some CC chain onto Tizda on this Malphite, but he is a very, very tanky fella. Able to just walk away from that one. No worries at all. Dragon spawning in 30 seconds here. Sauter fishing for some poke damage. I think that if this Jace can land a couple of those shock blasts, maybe then they can find a way into this fight. We'll have to see how that does go. Dr. Phil and Chill has flash. We'll see if that's going to make a difference here for the Pop Blossom. Maybe a potential flank angle for this Nico. Because really, Dr. Phil, if he can land a Pop Blossom onto a couple of members, I think that's how they can win this fight. Collective are just going to post up here around the river area, try and prevent TA Light from finding purchase into the river area. Drip irrigation. Needing a bunch of damage there. Spoozy now wants to go for it, but look, he's just going to get stunned up immediately. Event Horizon into the Solar Flare. See you later, but here comes Dr. Phil. Pop Blossom onto 2. Drip irrigation might be the target. Sauter's into the backside, but the culling just eviscerates his entire health bar. ADC ARAM is on the run. He's going to flash away, but it's a triple kill here for Lobotomy Larry. He's lobotomizing the entire team of TA Light. It's a quadra. Dr. Phil will be the last one to fall. Exhaust comes through, and it's a penta for the former CCS MVP. Lobotomy Larry, light them all up, knock them down.
He is definitely showing in this series why he said Collective is going to win the playoffs if they even make it in. This guy is popping off. Obviously, the pentakill does see, like, okay, this guy is definitely putting in the work in this one. But at the same time, we see Spoozy going so deep, and once the cage pops down, yes, you're unstoppable upon entry. But after entry, you are not, and he just gets instantly popped up, or popped off, actually, I should say. He's trying to get into this Dragon Pit, not quite able to make it in time, and that puts your team on the Ocean Soul point. But even then, we saw Pop Blossom coming through. I'm pretty sure it only landed onto, like, 1 or 2 members in that fight. Like, Lobotomy Larry was able to dash out of it with the reaction time. We saw Tista landing the very crucial Unstoppable Force onto ADC Aram, and he wasn't able to do any damage throughout that back end of the fight, even though we saw aggressively Spoozy going in. I think UBC Sauter basically lost a 1v1 against Lobotomy Larry, too, during that fight as well. And now we're at a situation where Lobotomy Larry is 10-0-2. This guy is like a couple of gold short. He's already at 1,000 gold. So he is really close to pick up that 4th item, which is very likely to be Infinity Edge. And he is going to start one-shotting people.
We've heard of the Perks playoff buff, but have you heard of the Lobotomy Larry playoff buff as he gets the flash out of UBC Sauter? Drip Irrigation now chasing Spoozy off, and TA Light just, again, they can't find purchase for any of these fights. They can't find the correct engage. Spoozy in that engagement, yeah, it was a pretty good ultimate, but with this Triforce build is just so squishy, and as soon as he gets stunned once, just gets taken out. Lobotomy Larry might have to be a bit careful here, but it's kind of 5v2 for the time being. Dr. Phil and Chill's in the bot side, and Baron has now been started up. TP's now coming in for TA Light Collective. Do they want to take this one? No, they say, all right, listen, we got the TP, we can just pull off, and they can keep making this play over and over. They have full objective control, or sorry, rather, full vision control around this objective. Yeah, Sauter can, you know, fiddle around, try and poke away with some of these accelerated shock blasts, but so far that's not really meaning too much. Yeah, Drip Irrigation got down a little bit, but there's a lot of lifesteal and a lot of sustain on this composition, and it seems like the Collective are more than happy to just play at a measured pace here for the rest of the game. I think they have the scaling advantage in their favor in this one.
Yeah, and also another thing to point out is the double TP advantage that the Collective does have. They do have the 1 TP on Sauter, which is why he is being delegated into his bot side. But even then, I feel like if Tista goes in that bot side, he probably wins out on that 1v1, which is pretty rare to say, especially at this state of the game with Jace being the kind of champion that he is. I think Malphite is just very, very tanky, and he's able to kind of just basically force Jace to kind of leave that lane, or but they basically do the same thing where they push out bot lane, they go towards the Baron, and without Jace being there, the poke that they don't have is just like you can actually just basically. As Jace, like you probably want to start poking or like maybe I guess like stopping the fight before it ever starting. But even then, like the initial engage from Tista coming through and Cider is basically preventing any form of initial engage that TA Light could basically go for. And right now, this side lane is going to be very hard to manage. The bottom Larry is almost unstoppable in the side lane. Look at that damage!
Look at this! He's got 3 items. He's got an IE. Guess what? The culling. It scales off crit. Those bullets coming out so dang fast. Drip Irrigation is here to support as well. They take out Solder, and they're going to look to take out the inhibitor. TA Light looking to return to base, but they've been found out. Dr. Phil and Chill into the Pot Blossom is going to try and turn it around onto Cider but he doesn't have the damage here alone. The rest of TA Light now looking to join. Cider on the run. It's actually going to be Tizda taken out first, but Drip Irrigation now is looking to join. It's going to be Lobotomy Larry onto the flank here as well. 4 versus 4 on the map. Make it 4 versus 3. Actually, Drip Irrigation might just get taken out. He does exactly that. Flawn is going to find a nice stun onto 3 members, but only the carries here still alive for the side of the collective. Lobotomy Larry still standing tall, still a couple levels up of anyone else on the side of TA Light.
They're going to the Baron, though. Jace is spawning in 1 second. TP could come through here, and this is a 5 versus 2. Yeah, like Lobotomy Larry is really strong. Flan he's very strong as well, but can you win a 5 versus 2? I don't know.
No ultimates available. The culling is now up. TP is going to be in here now for Solder, who wants to join the fray. Baron at about 50% HP. Spoozy still in the pit, tanking this one up. Dr. Phil and Chill is going to use the clone jukes. But this Baron getting very low. Now the culling comes through from Lobotomy Larry. He's going to find cynical support. No, the flash comes through and Spoozy secures the Baron. Tizda now is into the fight. He has ultimate. Can he find the angle? Not quite in range. All 5 members of TA Light were grouped up for a moment, but they're barely able to escape with their lives. They do claim the Baron, but Orion, the Ocean Soul, is spawning in 20 seconds.
Yeah, and honestly, that Ocean Soul coming through is probably going to be a little bit better. That initial Baron take is going to be, yes, obviously the influx of gold coming through for TA Light is a really nice thing, and you're going to be able to stop basically any push that Collective can do. But if they're able to pick up this dragon, that's going to mean a lot more for the grand state of things as Spoozy's face checking.
They spot each other with the Scryer's Bloom. Spoozy wants to get into this dragon pit, but it's just going to be gone, completely zoned out, not able to grab it. It is Lobotomy Larry and Drip Irrigation picking that one up. So it is the Baron buff going over, but guess what? Ocean Soul is a permanent buff. Baron only lasts 3 minutes. We'll see what TA Light can get done in the next 3 or so minutes, but gonna be tough fighting up against this Ocean Soul now.
Yeah, and honestly, like, if that blue ward came down over that Baron pit, like, maybe a couple seconds sooner, I have a feeling Tizda would have flash ultied that 4-man group and hit a huge one. But Cidermill's going!
Cidermill's gonna look for the engage into the Featherstorm, goes ADC ARAM, and now the fight is gonna break out. Pot Blossom onto 2. The Featherstorm pullback actually is gonna grab a bunch. Tizda is the next to fall. Flawn could be the target. Souder gets taken out with the gameplay button, and now Drip Irrigation on the run. 3 versus 1. So far is the kill total. Cynical Support just barely going to miss on that dredge line, but Lobotomy Larry has finally been found out. They grab the shutdown and TA Light. They ain't done. Cynical Support going forward. Nice Everfrost route. They're going to claim 2. No, they only claim 1. 1 for 1 on the fight. Spoozy and ADC ARAM and Dr. Phil and Chill still looking to push things down. This Baron buff has actually provided a lot of siege power here. They're going to break open an inhibitor. Can they look for more?
They want it.
Juan, the only one alive. Cidermill spawning in 5 seconds. The turrets are going to be the focus. TA Light are looking to strike back here in game 2. Spoozy going to get put very, very low. Cidermill is now here, but Dr. Phil and Chill has nothing in his eyes but the Nexus. It's got about 200 HP.
God.
They find the last autos, and TA Light are going to make a series out of this one.
Oh my... How did TA Light win that game? Honestly, like, that game was, like, honestly so unwinnable for them. But they ended up somehow winning that game. Holy crap. Honestly, huge credit to TA Light actually getting a really solid game there. Ended up picking up the kill actually multiple kills in that mid lane, able to basically go over to the Baron, able to pick that one up, and able to transition that Baron power into that mid lane fight. It looked like that initial play from Cidermill was able to catch out that Xayah and get so much power. Basically a power pick on that with the Feather Storm coming through, doing so much damage onto basically all the members that were trying to go in. And they had the Baron coming through, was able to do so much of a push. And with Lobotomy Larry getting caught out at the very end, he only had one death, but the one death was the most important death in the entire game. And this series is now 1-1. Woo!
What a fight from TA Light. Fast fingers there from ADC ARAM to dodge away from the stun from Leona with the Feather Storm coming through there. And then, yeah, I mean, it was like, I think it was a 3-man Pop Blossom. Finally, Dr. Phil and Chill able to find an angle into one of these fights. And Cynical Support went pop, other way around. Cidermill went pop, Tisda went pop, and like you say, Lobotomy Larry with his only death in that game, unfortunately, was the final nail in the coffin. TA Light taking us to 1-1, like you say, Orion. We're headed to a game 3, everybody. I am so stoked for that. We're going to take a little bit of a break here, but we've got a series on our hands, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. We've got a series on our hands. TA Light take game 2 out of nowhere there to equalize the series at 1 apiece. And headed into game 3, TA Light actually opting for blue side this time. Orion, what sort of an advantage do you think that gives them here?
Well, obviously it gives them the option to maybe pick something a little bit earlier in draft that they particularly wanted. Obviously, maybe they feel like counterpick doesn't necessarily give them too much of an advantage. So they want to try their hands on blue side here in this one. Uh, Bans were a little bit adapted from game two. We saw Collective basically banning the same three champions, and then we saw T Light banning away the Ziggs from Flan there. So I'm curious to
Yeah.
see if Collective, now that they've lost game two, if they're willing to change. But at the same time, Collective was obviously losing very on in that game, had a very strong mid game, winning out a lot of those fights, ended up even getting the Ocean Soul. But when you get exploded in team fights, Ocean Soul does not matter.
Absolutely true. You can't regen if you're dead, unfortunately. So, yeah, a little unlucky on that one. Maybe Collective should remember that for next time. Don't die if you have Ocean Soul.
Yeah.
Lucian actually going to be the ban here for TA Light. So, flexing away their third ban between game 1, game 2, and game 3, switching it up just a little bit. Lucian instead of Jinx, by the way, so leaving up um, the comfort pick there. And, oh, they actually might pick the Jinx themselves. They do exactly that. Okay.
Yeah, and honestly, it's a nice little prep here done by TA Light. They do know that Flan is a pretty big Jinx player when he's not on these mage-like champions. I will say the AD carry did have a pretty solid Xayah game. So maybe they feel like they didn't necessarily want to go back to that. They wanted to take away the Jinx more or less and get Lobotomy Larry off of Lucian, and he's honestly been popping off on that champion. So it does make a lot of sense to basically have 4 bans in this game where you just take away the enemy AD carries like most prominent picking it for yourself. Graves being the jungler of choice here for Collective, most likely. Drip has played it 2 games in a row. So most likely going to be in his hands for game 3. Having to wait to see what the second pick here is. I think it's mostly been a ADC pick here, usually for Collective, and they're going right back to the Veigar in this one.
All right, so Ziggs banned away last game as well, so they went for the Veigar. This game, we're going to see much of the same. Could potentially be a flex pick, of course. We do have to mention that. Graves as well could go into the top side. We'll have to see how these picks do shake out. The Collective have been pretty flexible in these drafts, especially early on in a lot of their drafts. I think you have to assume that Graves is going into the jungle. But we're going to see TA Light locking in the Nautilus and the Hecarim here once again. Something that we've seen, obviously, there in game 2 for them. And I think it provided a lot for the team, having kind of double the engage with both of these kind of dive buddies looking to go forward.
Yeah, and I also thought that Spoozy had a really solid game on the Hecarim as well, so it does make a lot of sense. A slight change in Collective's draft is if they do end up locking this support in here for Cider Mill, it is going to be a little bit different because they've been picking Lucian here on the third pick. Obviously, he is banned, so they weren't able to do that here. So they're saving mid pick here, probably for a little bit later. Most likely, going to be wanting to be giving Mr. Lobotomy Larry here the counter pick. I would assume in this mid lane here for Collective. Obviously, Nico has been picked 2 games in a row for Mr. Dr. Phil and Chill. I would say pretty hit or miss on the champion. Definitely hasn't been as consistent as we would like it to be in these games. Aatrox and Fiora being banned away straight away for both top laners here. Aatrox definitely more of the Tista type of play style. And then obviously Sauter has been playing a lot of Fiora in some of these CCS games as well. So I would assume a lot more top lane bans being picked here. I would assume we're probably blinding top lane here if we are Collective. I would assume just because like Lobotomy Larry definitely has the pool that can counterpick basically what Dr. Phil and Chill wants to do. And maybe Dr. Phil and Chill just wants to go right back to the Nico. And I'm curious to see what that counter is going to be for Mr. Lobotomy Larry.
Yeah, true indeed. Okay, double top lane bans here from TA Light as they take the Ornn off the table, wanting to limit some of those scaling team fight options. We'll see what the Collective want to go for here. I have to assume it's going to be blind pick top. Could potentially be the Malphite again for some engage, and we'll see what they want to flex towards. For Mr. Tizda, he's played mostly Mundo, Aatrox, Ornn, and Jax. A couple Camille games mixed in there as well. A couple Shen games. So is more so the weak side top laner, but this time is going to be on the Camille. So can kind of be weak side, could kind of be strong side, depending on how they want to play it. That means the Graves is going to go into the jungle, and like you say, Orion, they are going to keep that counter pick option up for Lobotomy Larry.
Yeah, and Camille has been a pick that Tista has defaulted back to several times in the CCS. I would say Tista's pool hasn't actually been that big so far at CCS. He's played a lot of Mundo, he's played a lot of Camille, he's played a lot of Aatrox, but the Jax pick coming through, which is I would consider, or a lot of people probably would consider a counter pick into this
Yeah.
Camille, where you can dodge out a lot of what Camille's damage is, because with that second
Ooh.
Q coming through, it makes it pretty hard to play. But B5 Malzahar, a champion that isn't necessarily something that you can just outright, I would consider counter. It's a champion that's
Right.
just going to push waves with his space aids, and he's going to have his little minions come up, and there's not really much you can really consistently do about it. I'm curious what Mr. Lobotomy is going to do here. He's
Yeah.
known for his aggressive mid lane champions, and there it is. Oh, oh, oh.
What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? He's playing with us a little bit. Looks like it will be the Aurelia. Yeah, the Malzahar, definitely more of a neutralizing pick, especially into something like the Aurelia. As soon as it gets aggressive on you, you can kind of just press R and say, stop that. And, in most scenarios should be able to remain relatively safe. So I think these solo lanes here for TA Light are going to be pretty solid. It's going to be a matter of, can they get this Jinx ahead? Can they get the Jinx online come some of these mid-game team fights? Because that has been really where the games have been broken up in so far in this series.
Yeah, and I gotta say, I'm not a huge fan of the Aurelia pick in this one, because like you're diving into a Malzahar, a Nautilus, and you can very easily just get locked in place, and there's not really much you can honestly do about it in this one. Obviously, if the Aurelia does get ahead, she can hit her Vampiric Spectre power spike in the mid lane. She's going to be very strong in terms of her being able to sustain a lot in this lane. But I will say, Aurelia can queue off of Malzahar's little minions, basically outright killing them, and you can get your passive going a little bit sooner. Than just straight up going for the minions. So that's a small mechanical thing that we probably look to see if Mr. Lobotomy Larry can pull off. But Wit's End can be a pretty solid buy into the Malzahar.
True.
And then obviously depending on build, most likely it's going to be Gore Drinker, Blade of the Ruin King as well. So in some of these long extended fights, Jax could end up getting a lot of value in this game, because if you're able to use your dodge to dodge out on Aurelia and Camille's damage, then this Jax can be surprisingly tanky.
Even can dodge out on some of the Graves autos as well. Pretty AD heavy topside for sure here from the collective. So we'll see if this Hecarim maybe wants to opt for a more tanky build. I think really opting towards some of that armor, especially in the early game, is going to go a long way. But overall, for these compositions, I mean, it seems pretty similar again for the collective. They've got Lobotomy Larry on a carry. They've got Flan on something that's relatively self-sufficient in terms of mages in the bot side. Has a lot of range, has a lot of scaling prowess. The one difference I think that we're seeing here is we're seeing Tisda on a carry this time. So with the Camille on the top side, I think that means that Drip Irrigation has another lane that he can potentially play around here for game 3.
Yeah, and it's typically the style that we've seen Collective do multiple times throughout the split. They've had Tista and the Lobotomy Larry play their strong sides, or the champions, the lanes they typically like to play through, and then Flan is basically on this side lane champion that just kind of farms, plays his own little game. But at the same time, we do have the Jax matchup coming through in the top side, that it's one of those things where it's very volatile in the sense that if either one of these top laners just gets ahead of the other one, then it's going to be a very much a snowball effect. And I would even consider that to be the same thing for Aurelia as well. If this champion gets going, she is a menace in a lot of these team fights. But the lockdown CC from Malzahar and Nautilus is going to come through. And I would say multiple members are going to start paying the QSS tax throughout this one.
I think they're going to have to. We'll see. The series is tied up at 1. We've got game 3 coming up. We'll be back in a couple of We are on to Summoner's Rift for the third time tonight, and we will surely be on for a fourth. Series tied at 1 apiece. These teams looking for that go-ahead victory here in Game 3. My name is Lindor, here with Orion, and folks, for this game, it's the Collective back actually onto the red side for the first time in this series. That means it's TA Light on the blue side, and they've switched things up here just a little bit. Jinx here for the first time in this series for ADC ARAM, and Dr. Phil and Chill, I think, throwing a wrench into the plans of Lobotomy Larry here with the Malzahar pick. Seemed like Lobotomy Larry didn't quite know what to pick into this matchup, eventually settled on to this Aurelia. We'll see what he can get done on that matchup.
Yeah, and I think we talked about it a little bit with Malzahar being this neutralizing champion to where, like, yeah, he's not a champion that's just going to pump off tons of damage, but he is the champion that can basically straight up nullify one champion out of the fight every single fight with his ultimate coming through with the Nether Grasp. So it's going to be up to Tista and the Lobotomy Larry, or basically anyone that decides to dive in forward aggressively to make sure that they're not able to just get ulted up very, very immediately, because as champions, they're not the most tanky, and they can very easily just get bopped.
Definitely are pretty squishy here. We are seeing junglers start on opposite sides of the map. It's Drip Irrigation with the blue start here on the red side. Stuns coming through here from both the supports as they just trade autos, but that's actually the dredge line coming forward onto Flan. Gonna eat a couple of rockets here from ADC ARAM. Topside, some heavy trading as well. Aggressive play from the side lanes as Lobotomy Larry looking for an aggressive trade here as well. Flawless Duet going to come down. Couple of extra autos, but Dr. Phil and Chill with the range advantage, able to equalize the trade. Level 2 priority for the bot side here of ARAM and Cynical support. But the respect from Flan and Cidermeal means nothing's going to come of it.
Yeah, and so far, like, you know, a pretty even game, I would say. I think this is the first game that Drip has actually gotten a leash on his bot side camp, so he's going to be a little bit more accelerated than he has in the past games. Hecarim doing what Hecarim does, full clear, basically, for the first 6 camps or so before he ever actually gets anything really going for him. And so far, it's been a very even game. Tista does have the early push onto Solder, and he does kind of have that grass proc coming through. And also the passive shield really helps with a lot of these exchanges in the top side of the map here, as we are seeing just everyone just kind of doing their own thing so far, making sure they're able to pick up a lot of these CS. It's really going to come down to which jungler makes something happen first. It does look like Camille is actually making her way down into this mid lane. It's going to be a bit of a 3-for-1 here, but with the spell shield not being proc there from Malzahar, it's going to be very hard to actually get on to this guy.
Yeah, Flawless Duet goes wide, which means Dr. Phil and Chill is going to be feeling pretty safe here. Dredge line from Cynical support is going to go wide. We're seeing Spoozy with an aggressive invade here into the bot side of Drip Irrigation, but there's no camps to be stolen, and so we'll see where he does want to path next. Lobotomy Larry could potentially be in a vulnerable position here, but with Drip Irrigation kind of hovering around the area, don't know how much they're going to be able to get done. It is Spoozy looking for the gank here into the mid side. Nice Flawless Duet out of Lobotomy Larry as Dredgeline lands on the bot side. Stun coming through. Cynical support going to get rooted up for a moment. Nice traps onto Cidermill. The TA Light bot lane doing a good job through the early levels in this matchup.
Yeah, and just kind of think about compositions here a little bit as we are seeing the push out happen here for Lobotomy Larry and Drip Irrigation. Spoozy is still in the area. Actually planned.
Oh, and that's to flash away.
Yeah, getting chunked out pretty hard there. Blowing flash definitely isn't a great thing, and it looks like there's a lot of minions there. I'm not really sure if it actually, yeah, it's gonna push away from Collective.
And now they're looking for Cidermill. Event Horizon is going to prevent any sort of follow-up, but that's going to keep the Veigar here at least for the time being. What does ADC ARAM want to do with this wave? I'm not sure if it's going to stay here.
Yeah, but with the fact that they used the minion dissimulars are on that cannon means the wave's going to actually push back to Flan and Cidermill here. Don't know if I like that decision, because basically the wave was going to be pushing against him. There's not really a great way for Flan to actually step up into this wave. Maybe if Hecarim was down here on the bot half of the map, they could have potentially like punished with a dive here, but it looks like it's going to be a reset here for ADC ARAM. Most likely has that Moon Quiver available to purchase. Oh, actually, it's just going to be a pickaxe, so not quite the best auto build there, but actually, nope.
There it is.
It is the Moon Quiver and a control ward, so I'm not really sure why he ended up buying that pickaxe initially, but nonetheless, it is a quality base here. for him in that matchup. But we're seeing Tista trying to push out this lane as well. Junglers are going towards the bot half of the map, so top laners are back on their current islands. But Lobotomy Larry is landing that stun, and it's not level 6 yet, so Dr. Phil and Chill has no real way of stopping this Irelia from actually dashing on top of him and really doing a lot of damage to him. But once that level 6 comes through, that's when we really have to watch these trades coming through. But there's a really nice E there from Sauter, dodging out from that Q2 from Tista. We're probably going to see how this matchup play out for most of the game. But that cooldown is very long for Sauter, so have to wait and see how that one does end up playing out. Tista hits 6 first.
Oh my goodness.
Here landing.
Double stun with the event horizon. Dr. Phil and Chill is waiting in the wings. He's the first here to the roam from the mid lane, so no follow-up going to come through from Drip Irrigation. So far, no first blood in this game. Pretty even game so far. Small gold lead in the hands of TA Light. Just a couple of...
Ooh, nice E.
Oh, Sauter's going to find the stun. He's going to find the solo bolo first blood.
Yeah, and that was just really well done. Like we said, the E interaction with Jax is if you're able to stop that Q2 from coming through.
Oh my goodness, that is a fast horse looking for Drip Irrigation here. Gonna find the charge. Nothing more. Rest of his team can't quite keep up with them, and I don't blame them there.
Yeah, Hecarim is extremely fast. When you proc that Ghost and you proc that the Relentless Charge that are coming through for him, as it does look like the Dragon is going to be going to wave.
Oh, Sauter got to be careful.
Ignite.
Tista still has Ignite, but there's a lot of minions here fighting away Sauter. Just barely goes down. Tista aggressively going forward, able to find the trade kill there. The Triumph heal means he does not fall to these minions. And just like that, top lane has been equalized. Cynical support, though, getting a little bit touchy here. Drip Irrigation going to get engaged on. It does have to flash over the wall. Nice bit of mechanical prowess from Drip Irrigation to get out of that engagement. So just the action on the top side here so far. No deaths anywhere else across the board.
Yeah, it was a nice attempt on a pickoff here, but Tista is like no HP. Wasn't able to push his way up. Misses the E!
Oh no, he's gonna go down. Tista. What is this top lane, Orion? They are going blow for blow. 2-1 now is Sauter able to get the better of this one. This wave is actually pushing into him as well. So just gonna patiently wait for it to freeze under his tower. And I think this Jax might be off to the races. You talked about how volatile this top lane matchup can be. Now has a CS lead, now has killed Tista after Tista TP'd back to lane. No Ignite threat on the Camille either. Sauter well and truly in the driver's seat.
Yeah, and not only that, but Hecarim's entire topside camps are open and available. And by the time he clears those camps, he's going to be getting level 6. And with Camille, like you said, the wave is pushing away from him, all those minions. Jax is going to sit here nice and pretty. And when Hecarim hits level 6, I would assume he's most likely just going to sprint up to that top lane and kill the Camille once again, because he has Ignite. He doesn't have Flash. So have to wait and see how that one ends up playing out. But Sauter doing a really good job of freezing this wave, and Tista has to push it out.
Is calling Drip Irrigation up here to try and assist with that shove, but Sauter's going to find the stun. He's going to look forward. If he has one more Leap Strike, he's going to find the 2v1 kill. Now with the Grandmaster's Might is very tanky against this Graves. Drip Irrigation trying to do what he can. UBC Sauter trying to use the minions to try and face tank some of these. Oh, collateral damage is going to have to be used. Drip Irrigation a little bit scared there that he was going to get stunned up. He is able to reset the wave here for Tista, but Sauter finding the 2 versus 1, able to trade kills, and Spoozy's going to be able to pick up most of this wave on the top side.
Yeah, but Jax is the one that picks up the kill. Camille was not, it didn't even get an assist from that play with the collateral damage coming through so late from Drip Irrigation. So still, this Jax is building a tremendous lead on the Camille, already up close to over 1,000 gold in this matchup, and it's not going to get any easier for Camille. Jax is already invested into the plated steel caps, but basically has the same items that Camille does with just an additional like tier 2 boots on top of that. So gonna be up to Camille to kind of stop the bleeding here up in this top side here. Lobotomy Larry landing that stun once again, but as long as Malzahar has that passive spell shield up and available, it's really hard for Irelia to even get in there. But still, Irelia has a 20 CS lead in this mid lane.
Yeah, possibly a part of that is going to be, you know, the Malzahar minions that Lobotomy Larry is picking up from time to time, but definitely doing a good job here in this matchup. Of course, for Dr. Phil and Chill, he's happy to CS as much as possible, get as much farm and XP under his belt, and just try and transition into the team fights at a neutral state or better, and so far has been doing that. Look at how safe he's playing here, just using that Q to step on forward and grab the cannon creep when available, but making sure that he's never in a position to get flashed on or approached by a jungler. Lobotomy Larry is going to find the flawless duet, but again, the passive is available for Dr. Phil and Chill. He's going to be completely fine in that trade. And we see Spoozy investing some time here in the top side, spawning up the Rift Herald. Oh my goodness, the bait comes through. Lobotomy Lair, you have gone too far. The roam from Cynical Support is going to find the kill, and TA Light are starting to take advantage of this game. It's Rift Herald on the top side claiming the first tower. Cynical Support gonna get a little bit trolled by the Raptors there as they tank up the dredge line for drip irrigation, but it doesn't matter. They're diving topside. Tizla is going to be the target. Shelly did die. Spoozy not able to go too deep under that tower, so is just going to be the one tower in the top side and the kill in the mid lane. Gold lead, almost 3,000 gold already here for TA Light.
Yeah, and I was noticing when I was watching that Irelia trade, like anytime he queued Dr. Phil and Shell at the mouse bar, he was going under tower basically every single time. If he's hook landing,
Cidermilk could be in trouble here. Cynical Support locked inside the baby cage. Actually has to flash away, but you can't flash the point and click. Flan presses R, grabs a kill back. Huge pickup here for the scaling bot lane of the collective.
Yeah, and you that's what you really want to see here out of this Veigar. I mean, obviously, the last game, he was going down in CS, and he didn't really have a great time in that lane. But this game, only down 10 CS, but with that kill going to the hands of the Veigar, also the reset that happened for Dr. Phil and Chill in the mid lane, I wouldn't be surprised if this Dragon just goes the way of Collective here. Obviously, Spoozy doesn't have the ulti, but he does have that blast code there if he so chooses to go over.
To get in time, Drip Irrigation will pick that one up, so at the very least, there's no Dragon Soul to be had sub 25 minutes in this game. And I think if you're Flan and the rest of the collective here, you're pretty happy about that. You don't want to see the pace of this game increasing even further. Spoozy finds a nice smite steal there. Drip Irrigation actually had his available, but not able to get that one down in time, so a cheeky little steal coming through here for the TA Light jungler.
Yeah, and I was kind of thinking about this compositional for both teams here. The engage that collective effort does have is pretty minimal. You have Leona Solar Flare that can be pretty cleansed away by the Jinx, and you have Camille and Irelia diving into a Nautilus and Jax. It's probably, or I guess Nautilus and Malzahar in this case, probably not the most fun time in the world. And if you're not able on top of this Jinx, it's, you know, gonna be building Kraken Slayer, gonna be building a lot of damage. She's gonna tear through your entire team if you're not careful. So we'll have to wait and see how ADC ARAM does on this pick. It was being won this time around, basically a straight up takeaway from Flan, not having to use that ban because they wanted to ban away Lobotomy Larry's illusion. But so far, Lobotomy Larry hasn't quite been able to get anything done in this mid lane. Dr. Phil and Shield's done a great job neutralizing, but Michael aggressive here. But last time he did that, he went under tower, he got ulted
Topside. Souter's got to be careful here. Drip Irrigation is going to be here. That's going to be the Hextech ultimatum issued from Tizda. But UBC Souter is going to try and fight this one out in the 2v1. Flashes over the wall, goes down to the Ignite anyways. So the punch back in the top side here from Drip Irrigation is going to come up with a kill there for his Camille. Bot side, some push coming down here for TA Light, but the answer is going to come through. I don't think they're going to get anything more. Larry is landing these stuns repeatedly, but Dr. Phil and Chill is just literally never stepping up unless he has that spell shield passive.
Yeah, and he knows that he is not the focal point of his team currently. He understands what his role is in this game and what he's trying to accomplish for his team. He doesn't have to be the carry. He doesn't have to be the one to make all these aggressive plays like Lobotomy Larry is trying to do. So we'll have to wait and see, like, if he's able to continue to play out this way. Cynical Support.
Oh my gosh, that clips onto Cidermill. They're going to get the ultimate down as well, but ADC ARAM walked into the event horizon, and so he didn't get the extra auto off. Cidermill flashes away, will barely survive. Small mechanical misplay there for ADC ARAM. Maybe wasn't quite in range for that auto attack. Cidermill was, of course, trying to run away, but now Flan going to find the route again.
Spoozy.
Oh, Spoozy's here. He's going to find that ultimate over the wall. That's going to be a dead Flan. See you later, Veigar. What a fantastic counter gank there from Spoozy. It even took me by surprise.
Yeah, and this is the power of the Hecarim here. Being able to use the Onslaught of Shadows over the wall to gain a lot of... basically cut off the Veigar there. Lobotomy Larry is trying to still look for these aggressive plays, basically killing these minions on repeat here. But Sattermill is here. He does have Solar Flare.
Some questionable traps there out of ADC ARAM, not blocking off anything. He does have to flash away from the Solar Flare. Cynical Support will die for his sins. But now UBC Sauter, he's TP'd into the fray. Not going to be able to find anything. Lobotomy Larry on the roam here towards the bot side is going to prevent TA Light from finding a punch back. And Orion, now the kills equalized at 5 apiece. Gold still in the favor of TA Light, but I do think that Collective starting to maybe find a way back into this game. Drip Irrigation has 2 kills on the Graves. They've obviously got that one on Flan as well, who is scaling infinitely on this Veigar. Dragon in a minute's time, that is really the crux of the next couple of minutes.
Yeah, and it looks like they're trying to get a little bit of chunk damage here on Dr. Phil and Chill. Dragon does spawn in 1 minute, so he's probably going to be able to get the reset here into a base. And he does have his support behind him, trying to make sure he's not quite able to get chunked out by Lobotomy Larry, but Drip Irrigation's space checking into Spoozy.
Yeah, ADC ARAM is here as well, but the zap will go wide. The pull back in from Spoozy. Lobotomy Larry is here, though. He's going to find the flawless duet, but that's going to be the kill coming through. They are going to trade it, though. That's going to be... Oh, my goodness, Dr. Phil arrives just in time. He presses R on Lobotomy Larry, and the Aurelia goes down. Tizna now in a 1v2 for the time being, as Cidermill now is going to join. Flan has here as well. 2 versus 2. Dr. Phil and Cynical Support versus Flan and Cidermill. Who is going to be the better duo? Nothing gonna come out of that one. 3 for 2 trade here in the favor of TA Light. Sauter on the bot side, all on his own, is going to grab a tower on top.
Yeah, but that was a 4 versus 5, right? Sauter staying in the bot half of the map, picking up that tower, and it was still a 2 for 3, I believe, going the way of TA Light. And if you're Collective, when you invest that many members, you want to see the fight go more towards your hands. Ultimately, not quite able to do so with Dragon up and available, and more of the members here for TA Light. It's likely that they're going to be able to pick up this Dragon, or at least they have the better position currently so far, because most of the members... we are seeing a TP being invested here by Flan, trying to get back into this area. Could have a bit of a round 2, but just on the bottom half of the map here. Have to wait and see how it does play out. Malzahar, Nether Grasp will be up and available in the next 5 seconds, so we'll have to wait and see if they know when that cooldown is going to be. But watch the engage from Collective. If they're able to get it on Jinx, this could be a good fight.
Bench line goes wide, but that's going to be Spoozy into the backside. It's going to be the Nether Grasp going down. Nice stun from the Jax as he jumps into the middle. It's going to be 2 going down, 1 on either side. Cidermill now looking for the dive, but he's not going to find anything. He's going to go down instead. Tizda now in the backside, but they haven't found ADC ARAM, and Sauter is causing so much chaos in the Collective backline. Lobotomy Larry flashing away, Flan having to do so as well, and the Dragon will be claimed by TA Light.
Yeah, it started out, but the initial engage by Spoozy, I'm pretty sure he hit like a 4 or maybe even a 5-man fear onto the backline. Collective effort there, weren't able to pilot that fight as well as they'd like to, and they're trying to get a push on this mid tower. Lobotomy Larry still has Vanguard's Edge up and available. A nice cage.
Gonna be flawless duet going down. Cynical Support surely will fall. That's gonna be the ultimate, like you say. Vanguard's Edge coming across. Lobotomy Larry life stealing off these minions, gets the shield as well. They're gonna pick up 2 on the back side. A little bit of an overstay there from TA Light, but a nice outplay from Lobotomy Larry.
Yeah, and I wonder when these QSS taxes are going to come through for some of these carries. Obviously, I would feel like the 2 most important ones would be the Camille and the Irelia, because without that QSS tax, Malzahar is just going to ult you anytime you try to get on top of Jinx, and you're just not going to be able to do basically anything in these fights. Obviously, that last ulti was used on Drip because they wanted to basically one-shot him for that Dragon, which they did successfully end up doing.
Jungle face-off here for the Rift Herald. Drip Irrigation's going to get it with the Q Smite. Spoozy now has to pop the Ghost and run for the hills, but actually, maybe he's going to look for a re-engage. The Fear is not going to find anyone. Dredgeline will get onto 1. It's going to be the Nether Grasp going through. Drip Irrigation is going to be the target. Mega Death Rocket finds its mark. Gameplay button cannot find the turnaround. Flan on the run. Going to get hit by the Dredgeline. That's going to be comboed into the traps, rooted in place for a very long time. Dr. Phil and Chill will be there to help assist, and ARAM finishing off the kill. 2 for 0. Spoozy thought he was caught out for a moment, but he said, hang on, I have a team here. We can turn this back around on ya. And they do exactly that. Now breaking down the the tower here in the mid lane. They're going to look for one more should be able to grab this one. Another set of minions gonna come in for reinforcements. And now it is TA Knight in this game, able to try and squeeze Collective out of this game. They're gonna try and take away most of these jungle camps. They have pressure in at least 2 of their 3 lanes, and the gold lead starting to bloom here just a little bit. About 5,500 is the lead.
Yeah, we are starting to see some of the Mercury Treads coming through, but the one thing about Malzahar's ultimate is that it is a suppression. Mercury Treads do nothing to suppressions. So far, if that is the reason they're building all these Mercury Treads, it ultimately is having 0 effect on them. The MR does feel nice, obviously, and you do have the Jack stun, you have Hecarim Fear, you have Nautilus stun as well. So obviously, Mercury Treads do make a lot of sense in this game, but it has no effect on Malzahar's ultimate whatsoever. This one are able to pick up the mid tower through the Rift Herald that Drip was able to steal away from Spoozy in this one. So nice little influx of gold. Obviously, getting down the enemy team's mid tower always is going to feel nice in this one. But so far, no QSS taxes are being invested so far, and it doesn't look like anyone is really opting into it. Second item has been built up here by the Irelia, so she's going to be feeling nice and strong. But so far, building that cloth armor is not the additional part for that QSS.
Yeah, I would really like to see Lobotomylary go for that one. I think he's only hit his R key maybe 3 times in this fight, and a lot of that is just because of Dr. Phil and Chill's threat. The second he tries to go into that Vanguard's Edge, Dr. Phil and Chill can just hit the Nether Grasp, say, no, 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 not today, and all of a sudden Lobotomylary will be going down himself. So, yeah, I mean, Lobotomylary did get counterpicked this game. So far, hasn't been able to do anything with it. Dr. Phil and Chill deathless in this game, 4-0 and 4. Now has the Rylai's in inventory, and we're starting to see these TA Light members start to hit some pretty crucial power spikes. Phantom Dancer in for ADC ARAM. It's, of course, the 2 spike for Dr. Phil, like we said. Once again, Orion, it is the Triforce here for Spoozy. Maybe we can talk a little bit more about that, and then Jax on the top side, Souter here. Well and truly in the lead. I do believe he's the gold leader in this game. Yes, he is indeed. 2.5 items already on this Jax.
Yeah, and I will say Hecarim is going for... Last game he went for Frozen Heart, which, yes, it does give a lot of mana and a lot of armor. You don't necessarily have that much HP. This game's going for the Death Stance, which will be able to survive a lot of the initial upfront damage that they're trying to do onto him, specifically the Vanguard damage. Obviously, it is an armor-based item, but you still have 15% reduced damage, I believe, on like all damage types. I'm not really sure if how that is. But it's going to be a nice item to kind of like slow it. Also, when you get a kill or assist, you're going to get that HP back as well. So it's a very nice feeling here for Spoozy. But Sattermill is already in position here. Spoozy could get caught out, but not quite able to land that stun, I believe, as director cameras for some reason sending me into the Irelia lane to watch her farm some minions as Vision is being placed here by TA Light here, and it looks like it's not really much they're able to do. Drip just leaving the area completely. And this is going to be Soul Coin here for TA Light. Dragon Soul will be spawning at the 28 and a half minute marker. They're set up to be very well in contention to win this game outright.
TA Light had the item power spikes ready for that fight. They had 2 items on every single member. They had teleport available on Souter and on Dr. Phil and Chill in case something crazy did end up breaking out. And so I think that's exactly why the collective just went, hey, listen, we need to start getting a few more components in. Our Camille only has 1.5 item is actually topside. Spoozy's looking for the pickoff here onto Lobotomylary. Has some other people here as well. Suppression comes through. Lobotomylary, he's just not allowed to move this game. Drip Irrigation now might be the target. Event Horizon providing some zone control here now, but Spoozy fearlessly going forward. Gonna get stunned up, solar flared, CC chained for a second, but ADC ARAM, he's got the flash, he's got the rockets, and now he's excited. He's gonna look for even more. Triple kill on Teflon comes through. Dr. Phil will take the Quadra, but 4 in the Death Chamber means TA Light are gonna continue pushing here. That was a 4v4 on the top side. Souter still getting stuff done here in the bot lane. What more can they get here on this push? Inhibitor for sure. 20-second death timers here on Drip Irrigation and Flan. 15 or so on Lobotomylary, but 5 members strong here is going to be TA Light. They're going to take the Inhibitor as their prize. They're not going to get much more on the bot side, but they have broken the base, and they will look to get back out on the map.
Yeah, and if you're TA Light, especially with how you won Game 2, this is a much better feeling in this one, winning out, basically outright in Game 3 so far. They have a 9,000 gold lead. 25 minutes in, so Baron is very likely on the table here in the next coming minutes here for TA Light. And if you're Collective, obviously a pretty heartbreaking loss in game 2, but Lobotomy Larry is face checking into Sauter.
Oh my gosh, Sauter jumps forward, not quite going to find the stun as Lobotomy Larry does find the flawless duet, but now Sauter's going to be in a 1v2 and he just doesn't know it yet. Now he knows it. And it's going to be, oh my goodness, Sauter turns it around, and now he can't be autoed. He's looking for it, but Solar Flare comes down. Super Mega Death Rock not quite going to find its mark, but Sauter, has he bought enough time? The rest of the team now starting up the Baron. I think he has. Drip Irrigation is a mile away. He's over there in China picking up some wolves. Meanwhile, TA Light are going to claim this Baron. Vision How now has gone down. Cidermill is in the area, but that's just one Leona. And they are going to grab the Baron. Sauter finds the 1-for-1 in the bot side and provides enough space for TA Light to get the worm.
Yeah, and this game is becoming almost like really hard to come back from if you are Collective, because when you're down this much gold, if you have to invest into the QSS stacks, it just makes it feel even that much worse, especially with Malzahar being the only AP champion in the squad. That extra MR basically is useless unless Malzahar specifically is the one you're taking damage from. And, you know, just having to pay that 1,300 gold is just a really rough feeling. But it looks like TA Light is just going to be pushing right down into the mid lane here. They don't really care about playing for multiple lanes, so they have the pushing top lane automatically, and they're trying to sync up some of their waves, which is why we're seeing a bit of a stall happening here in this mid lane. They want to time this mid push with Jax's push in the bot lane, and it looks like they're going to result in kind of doing that. Spoozy going very aggressively forward, but Dr. Flynn Shield does get his spell shield kind of procced here immediately. Have to wait and see like when they do decide to go.
They want the fight, but the ultimate is going to be onto Lobotomy Larry. He's got the Vanguard's edge, he's got the resets into the back fight. It's going to be Spoozy into the fight. It's very low health bars on the side of the Collective. Sauter is here, and he's melting them all. Jinx is excited. ADC ARAM grabs the kill. It's a 5-for-1. Dr. Phil and Chill gives his life for the team, but TA Light, they're going to take game number 3 here. They're going to put Collective down in the dirt. They are now 2-1 in this series as they finish this game off. Orion, what an absolute performance here from TA Light, putting on a show here in game 3.
Yeah, and especially for ADC ARAM here, we do see a bit of a change in draft here. TA Light opting into picking Jinx first, trying to take that one away from Flan, and just giving ADC ARAM a very powerful champion with that, and being able to perform at such a high level as well. I believe Jinx's final scoreline was 8-2-10, and while a lot of the attempts from Collective effort were trying to get onto basically everyone else but the Jinx, so much damage in the backline from the Jinx, and they didn't really have a great way of getting on top of her. It's not, you can't just dive through Malzahar and Nautilus on top of Jinx and expect to have solid results when you're down 10k gold.
Shout out to Dr. Phil and Chill in that game, because he just puts the ego away, says, listen, it's Lobotomy Larry in 4 wards, and guess what? If I never die to Lobotomy Larry, he's only got 4 wards. What's he going to do? I've got 4 teammates. So Dr. Phil and Chill really able to neutralize Lobotomy Larry there. I think even in that last fight, just clicks R on the Aurelia. Yeah, he dies, but they wipe the fight and they win the game. And I think that's just kind of the story of this entire game right there.
Yep, for sure. And if you're Collective now, obviously game 2 was a heartbreaker. A game you probably feel like you should have won. You win that game 90% of the time, and ultimately you ended up losing. And then game 3, it was basically controlled all the way through from TA Light. So you're going to have to find some bit of an adaptation. I do believe Collective is the one that gets to choose side for game 4 and trying to force a game 5.
We'll see if they can do exactly that. Grab your popcorn, grab a snack. I know it's been a long series, but we've got at least one more game coming right up.
Now listen, fellow warriors, I ask you, should my campaign come to an end? There's way more to avenge. Whoa! 50 million souls live in this realm without much hope. Not too long ago, this kingdom was a golden state of hope. Call down awakening to bring back hope and peace, restore our glory to live forever. Yeah, bring down the dark regime. I know how to unleash eternal power. Lead us to order. I am the light bringer.
Welcome back to the CCS playoffs, everybody. We are dropping some R's already, getting ready for Game 4. TA Light on the blue side, the collective had side selection for Game 4. They went with red side, and so let's get right on into it. Orion, so far it's the Yone ban once again from TA Light.
Yeah, and I wonder if TA Light's gonna basically run back the same draft where they ban Lucian on 3 and they just pick the
Yep.
Jinx on their first pick. It worked very well for them, and I wonder if Collective. So they do have the last ban up and available, and they're just gonna go with the Ari once again. They feel like the Jinx wasn't really that big of an issue, and TA Light's gonna say, "Okay, we'll take it right back again." And Collective. Oh, actually, big change. Big
Ooh.
change. No longer the AP mage in the bot lanes we saw the first 3 games. We're going with the MF Nautilus here for Collective. I definitely like this. It definitely gives you a little bit more agency in that bot half of the map. Fortune does so much damage now with the Eclipse Managing build, if that is the items of choice. As we're going to see the support pick here, or support pairing, I would say, with the Leilona here, a little bit more of the agency, and then the Jarvan pick coming through. This draft is going so quick. Oh my gosh.
We are
Ornn locked in
blowing.
as well. I like this Ornn pick though. It's very solid in game 1. TA Light did the Gnar and originally into it. Didn't necessarily have the greatest of impacts. So far, definitely very team fighty for Collective. They had the AoE ultimates of Fortune Ornn, but at the same time, same with TA Light. They had the natural scaling with Jinx and just outright solid team fighting here as well. And you can tell Rowdy Randy did not like that Malzahar. That got instantly banned.
He wasn't allowed to do anything that entire game. I would doubt he hit his R key more than 5 times in that game. And as an Aurelia, that really sucks. So I'm not surprised at all to see the Malzahar ban. Dr. Phil and Chill has actually been drawing bans a lot this series. The Victor and the Arya are 2 that they've stuck with the entire way. And Collective, they're just going, all right, we all hit R at the same time, we win the game.
I mean, sometimes that's a pretty solid strategy, especially if you can kind of push them in the right order.
Yes.
Typically, the Ornn horn sounds first, and then you have everyone else kind of follow through. And so far, it kind of just aligns with what TA Light wants to do. This time, the answer is the Mordekaiser, which I will say is a pretty solid answer into the Ornn. If the Ornn horn does come out, you can ulti the Ornn, and he can no longer recast the second version of that ultimate. Also, there's many other versions, like you can ulti Misfortune, so she can't bully time. You can ulti Diana, but the one champion that's been banned this entire series so far that got replaced is the Malzahar. But this one is, while it does make sense thematically, the Aswo pick coming through, you are
Wow.
directly countering yourself with the Vex pick. Vex loves champions that dash, and
Yeah.
Yasuo is a dashing champion basically every time there's minions around him. So we'll have to wait and see how the vocabulary plays around that effect. It could probably be a very similar case with the Malzahar pick last game, where
Yep.
he might just not have that much of an impact. But this game, he has multiple, and I mean multiple ways of actually getting in these fights. He has Diana with her crescent moon falling down. So you have the Ornhorn, you have the Deft Charge up and
Yeah.
available. So even though Yasuo probably won't inherently get close to Vex with by himself, he has Diana coming through. He has multiple avenues, and you're gonna have to watch out if you're TA Light. If you are ever balled up against this composition, you probably don't survive for longer than 2 seconds.
Yep, the strategy here from the collective is pretty dang obvious. You get the Ornhorn in there, you get the engage flying in, you hit the wombo combo buttons, and you hopefully win the team fights. For TA Light, it's not quite as simple. Yeah, they have some dive here, Jarvan, Leona, even the Vex, the Mordekaiser can hopefully Death Realm someone on the collective who TA Light are maybe having difficulty dealing with, and then there's the Jinx in the backside kind of free firing. But for the collective, they have a lot of dive here, and if that dive lands on the Jinx, I don't know if TA Light really have much of an answer for that in terms of secondary damage sources. Yeah, there's the Vex here. They can get some, AoE damage off in some of these team fights, but without the Jinx, that hyper carry champion here for this team composition, I feel like things start to maybe fall apart a little bit there.
Yep, and there's also just no disengage on the side of TA Light. Usually Jinx is a champion that kind of likes to have those champions around her that can peel her or keep her safe. But
Hmm.
not a single champion that can stop Ornhorn. Well, obviously, Mordekaiser and Vex,
Yep.
your jobs in this game can be to like kind of peel. You can use Mordekaiser ultimate to peel. You can
Sure.
have Vex fear to stop the initial like Diana or Yasuo from coming through. But
Hmm.
you still have Death Charge coming through. Like you still have like all these tools that can get on top of Jinx. Last game, they didn't really have that option.
Yep.
This game, they do, and they don't have a great way of stopping it either, I'd say.
Absolutely true. Okay, give me a second here. I have to put all my points on TA Light really quick so that I make sure to maximize my point game. So far, I've lost about 4,000 channel points so far today, so we're not so hot on the predictions. But TA Light, do me a favor here and end this series out. I don't know. I feel like that's a bold prediction from me just because Rowdy Randy with his back against the wall is not a player you want to mess with.
Yeah, and in order for my bracket to still be stabilized, I definitely need Collective to win these next 2 games. I did predict
Okay.
Collective to win 3-2. I do think this is the composition that they can force a game 5 with, but
Hmm.
we saw in game 1, UBC Salter, he's been having a pretty solid series so far. He's got another matchup in his hands where he can basically control this lane, and Mordekaiser can do a lot of work into this Ornn. But as we saw in game 1, Ornn is a champion that's eventually just going to get so tanky
Yeah.
that he's going to become basically an immovable wall of some sort. So we'll have to wait and see how this game does end up playing out. But very, very shortly, we are going to be going into game 4. And man, I am excited for this one.
Heck yeah, the collective, I do think, have the ease of execution in terms of their team fighting composition here, but it is going to come down to execution. I think that TA Light, if they can find the right answers, they can definitely find their way to a Game 4 victory here, and ultimately that series victory. We are headed into Game 4 just a couple minutes as the teams do load onto the Rift, but we'll be right back.
Everybody, panic! Hold on! I'm about to say something really cool. 3, 41, 9, and lift off! No one dies screaming without me. I feel like I forgot to shoot something. You're starting to bore me. She's such a loser, always ready to cry. Ah, come on. What's the worst that could happen?
Call down the reckoning.
We are on to Summoner's Rift, everybody, for the 4th time for TA Light versus the Collective. That hook was an extendo hook. How did that even hit? Dr. Phil and Chill is just barely going to be able to survive. Cider Mill trading flashes with the enemy mid laner there.
Yeah, and you know, I will say that definitely it's gonna feel very nice for Mr. Lobotomy Larry. I believe the only summer spells that were used there was Ciders. He used his Ignite and Flash, and then
Yep.
Dr. Phil and Chill having to burn his Flash as well. But I'm curious if that Flash timer, you know, Diana is known as her farming jungler until she hits level 6, and then she can have a lot of impact. She doesn't actually have a knock up to level 6, so not able
Yeah.
to impact that mid lane as much as other junglers be able to, if that is the case. But this is the first game we do get to see Mr. Flan on the as okay, Mr. Cider just randomly feels like hooking a wall. But Mr. This is the first game that Flan is on a 80 carry actually in the bot lane. He was 6 game 1 and then game 2, game 3 on the Vanguard. We're now on game 4, so it does look like Collective kind of putting a stop to things in terms of putting a mage in that bot side and just going straight for that ulti composition like you talked about going into.
Yeah, Flan on the Misfortune. Maybe isn't the most traditional AD carry, especially with the Eclipse build, is more looking for the poke and the harassment, and of course the damage on the ultimate, but that's what this composition is all about. You lock them in place, you knock them in the air, Yasuo holds them in, and Misfortune just rips on through. So that's the whole idea here for the Collective, who have their backs up against the wall here, down 2-1 in this series. Need to try and take us to a game 5 with a victory here in this one. We are seeing junglers starting on the same side of the map this time. Drip Irrigation taking a little bit of a long route around through his red side so that he doesn't get spotted on that cheeky little ward that did see where he started. Both teams should know, though, that the junglers are starting on the top side because they did both get leashes. And so expectations for these bot lanes are that the junglers are going to be on the bot side of the map, starting pretty quick here. The early shove is going into the favor of TA Light, and so they're going to put up a defensive ward here into the river.
Yeah, and so talk about the both junglers here for a little bit. Jarvan is a champion that is known to have the impact early on into the game. As we see, that interaction is going to happen basically every single time the bottom Larry wants to dash forward. He's just going to get feared away, and there's literally nothing to do about it. But Diana is the champion that's going to farm at a much heavier pace than what Jarvan can basically even consider keeping up with. So in order for Jarvan to keep pace, he has to make impact on these lanes, because if he just chooses to only ever do his camps, Diana will just continuously outpace him. So is he trying to get in the... Oh, actually steals that crab well enough, able to chase away Drip Irrigation from where that crab. So actually a pretty solid steal there, picking up some of that gold, and he might even be able to do a double crab here if he so chooses, but so far it looks like he's going to go towards that vision plant, seeing if there's trying to take away the ward that was just placed by the bottom of Larry. And so far, obviously nothing's really happened so much, but a slight jungle lead for the Jarvan.
Yeah, that's pretty big for the Jarvan, especially considering, like you talked about, he's just going to naturally fall behind Drip Irrigation just in terms of sheer clear speed. So, looks like Drip Irrigation smited early on that Scuttle Crab to knock the shield off, as actually Flan going forward here. Or, sorry, rather, Cynical Support going forward onto Flan, but the traps from onto Drip Irrigation means that this counter gank here from the Diana isn't going to amount to much. They're just going to try and shove this wave in. Spoozy is in the area. Hasn't been spotted here just yet. Cynical Support going to try and start it off. Needs to try and not give his life over so that the first blood can go over. Drip Irrigation is going to be the focus, but he's going to get flashed away. Cynical Support still going. Stun onto Cider Mill. First blood onto the Jinx. Now the resets come through. Drip Irrigation will be the target. He trades onto the Leona, but Flan on the run has to flash away. Are they going to look for more? Souter on the top side looking for some heavy trading. Flan will barely survive the bot side engagement. Tizda does the same on the top, but first blood and a 2-for-1. TA Light get the better of that early game bot side play.
Yeah, and that hook initially missing from Cider was a pretty big deal. Not quite able to do as much as he wanted to with Spoozy, affecting the mid lane here a little bit. He has red buff.
Yeah, Lobotomy Larry has to flash away from a potential fear there. Things not looking too hot here if you are the Collective. Mid lane matchup, like you say, is really, really tough for Lobotomy Larry. Now won't have a flash to work with either. And same thing can be said for the bot side. Flan having to use his summoner spells there, doesn't go down himself, but there's a kill and an assist already onto ADC Aram, who has the pickaxe lead already in this bot side.
Yeah, and we just talked about how Jarvan has to have a pretty strong impact, and he's already been to 2 lanes, forced 2 flashes from 2 of the major carries of the collective team here. And we're seeing this matchup in the top side not getting any easier here from Tista, already down 14 CS, which is what we kind of expected from this lane. Mordekaiser is able to do a lot more damage than what Orin can physically produce as well. Trying to keep up or trying to match that in that sort of sense. But Swizzy trying to go aggressive onto Cider, but Cider able to go over the wall and not quite being effective. But Swizzy's going to go probably directly over to the Dragon. And with ADC ARAM building up a slow push here, should be able to not necessarily get punished by the Misfortune or the Nautilus, because Nautilus is only level 3 and Blonde's only level 4, so it's not like they have a lot of tools in their back pocket to really punish out the alone AD carry. And with Dr. Phil and Chill able to move as well, this is the first Dragon going in the game at 6 minutes and 30 seconds or so. And you like to see it. If you're TA Light, this does mean they're potentially looking for those early Dragons. And when you have this bot lane lead, it's definitely what you want to see. You don't want to give away priority when your bot lane is so strong on this half of the map.
And speaking of that bot lane lead, it is a 700 plus gold lead already for ADC ARAM, just 7 minutes in. So, full pickaxe ahead and is looking really, really strong on this bot side. Across the map, the rest is relatively even, right? It's pretty even in the mid lane, pretty even in the jungle. Top side is a little bit Souter favored just due to the nature of this matchup, but I was expecting Flan and Cidermill to be able to dictate the pace of this bot side. So far, that has not been the case. ADC ARAM here on the scaling champion, going to be feeling pretty good about this start.
Yeah, and especially after the last game's performance too, going 8-2 and 10, pumping out so much damage as the game went on. So he's definitely feeling really good about how his performance is these last couple of games, and he's probably going to be the one on his team pumping out the most consistent damage anyways. So Lobotomy actually not going for that, having a lot of respect for potential for someone to be there. So good read by him. Also, his teammates are on a reset. The only one actually on the map with him is the Diana. So have to be a little bit careful here, making sure. But Drip Irrigation is level 6 now. This is where the 2-man combination of Yasuo and Diana can become a huge threat. If Diana wins a multiple Moonfall along with Yasuo's ultimate coming through, that is a lot of damage if you're ever grouped up. And not only that, but you also have Misfortune getting close to level 6 as well. So even though Collective, I would say, is kind of slipping here a little bit in the early game, if they get a solid team fight, they can turn it around just like that.
Absolutely, they can. The tools that they've drafted for themselves here are just endless. Lobotomy Larry in this mid lane, hasn't been able to unleash that last breath just yet, but has been staying about 10 or so CS ahead of Dr. Phil and Chill, and that's pretty fantastic considering how Vex favored this matchup can be. So Lobotomy Larry just playing things out safe. We see him not going for these all-ins when he does land those knockups. Just wanted to make sure that he has as much farm under his belt as he can, build up towards some of those mythics. As Tizda on the top side, gonna miss the Bellows Breath. Charge here from the Rift Herald is gonna knock off a couple of plates. Nice knockup from Tizda. Is actually gonna look for it. Is Randy in the area? Lobotomy Larry actually is not going to be Tizda into the Death Realm, means that he can't find the second half of the Call of the Forge God, but this could be a 2v2 now. Oh, they've denied it! Oh my goodness, the last breath comes through. Spoozy will fall. Souter's not long for this world, and Lobotomy Larry, just like that, is on the board.
And it's exactly what we were talking about just then. Even though they kind of slipped early on in the game, they have all the tools necessary to pick up some solid fights here. And that does mean they are able to pick up 2 kills here at the top lane. Good job by Souter, though, canceling that initial ulti, but Drip has the wraparound. Bill does have Flash.
Splash has ult, doesn't want to use any. Now will flash away, but Lobotomy Larry just easily picks that one up. Doesn't even need to flash himself. Presses Q, says thank you very much. And all of a sudden, the former CCS MVP 2-0-1 now. Drip Irrigation trying to steal away this Raptor will do exactly that. Spoozy actually has to be careful. I don't think this is a 1v1 you win, my dude. And he's still going to continue looking for it. Cataclysm is going to clean it up. Super Mega Death Rocket is going to find the back of Lobotomy Larry. But meanwhile, bot side, Cidermill's got to find the ultimate. It's going to be Flan, rather, getting dove on by Cynical Support. ADC ARAM still looking healthy. He's going to find the kills. He's going to find the reset. He's going to sprint himself right on out of there. They'll take the 1-for-0. And actually, Spoozy living in that engagement as well. It's a 2 for 0 if you count the kill on Drip Irrigation. What a game 4 we've got for us here.
Yeah, and Flan just having used bullet time on the wave a couple of seconds ago, he didn't actually have it available, and Misfortune with the build that she is going, this lethality and man immune build, it is not the attack speed champion that Jinx is. And with all the auto attacks coming through from Jinx, she's doing so much work in that fight. It results in a double kill, and they were able to walk out scot-free, which made that much more of an importance here. But at the same time, Lobotomy Larry is picking up some of these kills. He is 2-0-1, and the power that could come from this champion, along with the other tools that he has around him. This is the game for Lobotomy Larry to show up and to control this one all the way through. If he's able to have a solid game, I can see Collective winning this one out, but he's got to have a good game, though.
So far, so good for Lobotomy Larry. Death Realm going to be called here for Souter, wanting to take the 1v1 against Tizda. Call of the Forge God going to come through. The Q actually going to miss there, so Souter, can he finish this one off? Brittle Proc's coming through. He's going to miss another one. If either of those hit, Tizda surely dies, but now he's going to flash. He's going to dash away. Drip Irrigation, the rest of the team are on this dragon. Dr. Phil is in the area. That's going to be the engagement. It's going to be this Fortune Ultimate ripping through them all, but it's into the backline. Spoozy and Dr. Phil and Chill. They'll find the engage onto Flan. They take out Lobotomy Larry. It's 3 for 0. They pick up the dragon too. TA Light coming up big.
Yeah, so much upfront damage coming through from Dr. Phil and Chill and Spoozy. I believe it's a 3 or a 4-man fear. Probably just 3 because Flom was able to get the bullet time off. But Lobotomy Larry is not able to use his ultimate coming through. The last breath was never actually used in that fight, even though Moonfall was used during that fight. So not quite able to have the impact there that he would like to have in that fight. Mostly probably because Dr. Phil and Chill was able to get in there, land that fear, and then Jarvan able to come through with the Cataclysm as well on top of that, resulting in 3 kills and the Dragon. And also first tower of the game solo goes to UBC Solder in this top side. We talked about how this matchup can be very, very tough for Ornn to deal with. And we're 13 minutes in, and that's a 4K gold lead.
It's a 4K gold lead. It's 2 dragons to the side of TA Light. But I have to say, Orion, they've got a long way to go, because this is a full team fighting composition for the Collective, and we cannot count them out. Lobotomy Larry has put this team on his back too many times for us to say this game is over. So TA Light, they still need to pilot this correctly. They still need to play out some of these team fights very, very well. Dr. Phil and Chill might be the target here. This is going to be the combo coming through. Moonfall into Last Breath. Nice Everfrost, but just barely. Lobotomy Larry will find that Samurai Sword stab and able to grab up the kill. It is the second one on Dr. Phil and Chill. 3-1 now is Lobotomy Larry. He's got 30 seconds or so to knock off a couple plates. Every little bit of gold you can squeeze out as this Yasuo is just going to be so much important. So, Cynical support. Solar Flare only going to find the slow. Larry will be alright.
Yeah, and that's the combination that we like to see so far with the Diana Yasuo combo. There's a reason why they picked these two champions together. The combination used to be Gragas and Yasuo, where like you basically just throw the cask and Yasuo would just ulti off of it immediately. But now the combination is Diana, because Diana can pull multiple members together and do a lot of consistent damage as well. Gragas was mostly just used as a way of starting off the fight. But so far they have actually been able to pick up some kills, but they're still down 3K gold due to some of the kills and the complete tower going down in that top side, which is why there is that 3K gold lead. And this top lane matchup is not going to get any easier here for Tista. Souder is going to continuously push this guy in. Yes, Ornn is going to play. He's playing for his team. He's playing for the levels. But so far, it's not working for him. Drip is looking, does have the Everfrost. Moonfall's in like 5 seconds.
Ultimate coming off cooldown. Dr. Phil and Chill has to be a little bit careful here. Drip wants to go for it. No flash coming out, but now it comes out afterward. Drip, he even gets the fear. Nice cleanse on Larry. He's going to trade it back, though, 1-for-1 in the mid lane dive. Lobotomy Larry uses his ult, uses all of his summoner spells, and is only able to get a 1-for-1. Very well done by Dr. Phil and Chill there. Drip Irrigation going on a little bit of an adventure here, is going to steal away some camps and then look for the recall. Spoozy on the bot side, potentially looking for a dive here onto Flan and Cidermill. No Misfortune ult available, so yeah, they do have to just evacuate.
Yeah, and that's going to be maybe even 2 towers going down because they rotated Souter into that mid lane, and with Lobotomy Larry still being dead and Drip actually having to go, yeah, I'm pretty sure he got hit by that rocket that put him to that low of HP, so not quite able to be in a good spot. They do use the Leona E to get onto them, but yeah, it does look like Souter's gonna actually pick up this tower. Drip is trying to save it. I don't think you want to be here, my friend.
Oh, that's going to be the ultimate coming down. Drip Irrigation is going to take a chunk of damage. He's got nowhere to run. He's locked in here. That's the kill coming through. Spoozy now going forward, maybe biting off a little bit more than he can chew, but is going to be able to get on out. And once again, TA Light in the driver's seat. TA Light able to put the pressure down. TA Light able to keep Lobotomy Larry out of this game for the most part, at least in this one. Lobotomy Larry still 4-2. He's the only member of Collective that has a little bit of a gold lead, so everything relying on this mid laner.
Yeah, and this game is definitely slipping out of Collective's hands a little bit. Jarvan is sitting very, very strong. This Jinx is even 3-0-2.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we have to caution against Collective, no, sorry, for TA Light not to want to group up like a ball. This composition is meant to be very explosive and very, very quick. And these dragons are a focal point for that to happen. So yes, they are at 5k gold, but if you group like a ball and you get ulted and you get like 5-man ulted by basically everyone, just because you're up 5k doesn't mean you have the health and the resources to survive. So we'll have to wait and see. They are getting a flank from Spoozy though.
Irrigation's going to be the target, going to go gold for a moment. That's going to be the call of the Forge God, only going to find onto one. Irrigation now into the back. Bullet Storm's going to rip through everyone. The bullet time will find them all. Lobotomy Larry still alive in this fight, but Spoozy and UBC South are still trying to fight this one out. Nice pullback, nice Cataclysm. They're going to find one. Dr. Philhinchil actually still alive in this. Can they turn it back around? Yes, they can. This Mordekaiser is so dang strong. The solo laners from TA Light stand strong, and they're going to put themselves on Infernal Soul Point here, Orion, in an elimination game for the side of the Collective. They can't find the team fights. They can't find the angles. It's Dr. Philhinchil finding the go button, and it's TA Light finding the fights.
Yeah, and really good job there by TA Light coming from multiple angles. That's what you have to do against a composition like this, because you don't want to have all 5 members going down the same alleyway. You want to have the ability to come. We saw Jarvan coming from around the back. We had Dr. Philhinchil coming straight at you, so definitely like to see that one coming through as they pick up a lot of kills and they pick up the dragon as well. But we did kind of see a little bit of what this composition wants to do. We saw the 2-man Diana ultimate on top of Flynn's ultimate as well, but it looks like Lobotomy Larry wants to take this guy down, but Sauter has ulti. I don't know if he wins this.
Last breath coming through now. Sauter going to go into the Death Realm here. He is actually going to try and pick off Tizda here instead of going for Lobotomy Larry. But now Sautermill's going to join. Unless Sauter can get this kill real quick. Ooh, does go golden. Burning away, actually. He's going to steal the stats. Can he continue fighting this? Lobotomy Larry's going to be very low. The pullback comes through. The shield is so big. And Sauter has found a 1v3 TA Light. They've got the series in their hands. And this is Sauter showing up big.
Yeah, and Sauter just basically just like completely outplayed them there. There's not really much you can really do to stop this guy in this side lane right now, using stopwatch to actually pick up that kill onto Tizda, and they were able to get the Rift Herald that entire time, so this does mean this tier 2 tower in mid is going to fall, and Lobotomy Larry is spawning in like 2 seconds, so there's potential for Drip to go in with Moonfall here if they're getting range, but they're just going to back off. They want to play it safe, but I don't know, going with the death charge.
Spoozy is going to find himself CC'd up. Flag and Drag is going to get him over the wall, but this is going to be Drip Irrigation into the fight. They found the combo. They're going to find the bullet time as well, but oh no, Sauter's into the backline. Dr. Philhinchil is still alive. Lobotomy Larry will knock him down, but what can Sauter get done in this backside? He's in the Death Realm with Tizda now going to come out, now going to be focused down. He's worth a lot of shutdown gold. Larry has found himself out, but now over the wall goes TA Light. They're looking for more. Tizda's the last one standing. He's going to get a 3-man knockup, but there's no last breath available. ADC ARAM's got the resets. ADC ARAM's on the Jinx. They pick it away from Flan and they slam them with it. And now 20-second death timers are on the Collective members. Lobotomy Larry, rather, stands alone. Drip Irrigation will spawn, so TA Light will have to evacuate, but they claim the inhibitor. They claim the team fight victory, and Orion, this gold lead nearing a 10,000 gold lead.
Yeah, and Honestly, Collective's composition, once they go in, they run out of gas extremely quickly, kind of like what
Yeah.
we just saw. MF was doing like negative damage to that Mordekaiser as the fight was after she used the bullet time. And if you're not able to land a great engage, and especially when you're down this much gold, TA Light is just playing the fight so much better than they are. Sattermill potentially getting caught out here. Evercross lands.
Evercross root, solar flare, everything, and the kitchen sink. The rocket comes through. Dr. Phil and Chill picks it up. This could be a potential Baron angle here. They have 4 members here. Souter has TP. He's looking to join in the mid lane. That's going to be the ultimate thrown out here from Dr. Phil. Not going to find too much there on the backside. Traps are down to try and zone them out of the pit. Baron actually still only at 80%. Cynical support looking for the fight. UBC Souter is now here. Lobotomy Larry going to get dragged into the Death Realm. So for the time being, it's a 4v3. It's a 4v2. Now as Drip Irrigation goes down. Sorry, 4v3. Laboratory Larry. He's gone. See you later. Former MVP put in the dirt. And now the Baron is gonna be the focus. ADC ARAM 9, 1, and 4 on this Jinx. TA Light, they just don't stop.
Yeah, and this is gonna be a huge swing here for TA Light, and they are in great position if they weren't already to just outright win this one. The Baron is gonna help with their initial push. It's gonna help with taking down so much of these structures that are still standing, and they already have the inhibitor down. Dragon is spawning in 45 seconds, and and this is going to be the Infernal Soul at like 22 minutes. And this game is basically over. The only way that Collective somehow win this game is that they just get multiple 5-man ultis, and at the same time, TA Light has done a tremendous job preventing that from ever happening. So if you weren't able to get it done earlier, what makes you think you can get it done now?
They need a miracle engage. There might be one last chance for them, but UBC Souter is going to make it difficult. Pushing on the top side here. Dredge line from Cider Mill does go wide. Not quite going to be able to find the engage onto Cynical support. Drip Irrigation and the rest of the team, they are 5-man strong. They know this is their last chance at a game 4 victory here. Their last chance to take us to a game 5. But look at this, Souter, he's got minions on the Nexus towers. All TA Light have to do is take a fight here. They don't even have to win it. They just have to keep the Collective members here. It's a good combo. They finally found it. But can TA buy enough time? That's a huge ultimate over the top from Tiz. The Flan's still alive. Lobotomy Larry doing what he can. But Souter is ending the game. Recall, get back to base. Can they get there fast enough? The Nexus Tower is going to be the focus. Big minion wave here. Baron buffed up. I think Souter can end it out. It's Lobotomy Larry. He's here. He's got the cleanse. He's got the flash. He needs to do what he can. But Souter's got eyes only for the Nexus. The knockup comes through. Orn is here. The big shield coming through. He's actually going to press the ulti down. One more auto will do it. UBC Souter has won the game for TA Light.
Oh, the classic trade Nexus for fighting a 5v4. They did not send anyone back into the base, and that means TA Light is going to take the series 3-1. Whew.
The former CCS champions have been knocked out of the Wednesday conference playoffs. TA Light will come to life here in the quarterfinals. What an absolute fantastic series from them. Game 1 looked a little rough. Collective all the way. Game 2 started with Collective on the right foot, pushing forward, dictating tempo. TA Light just stole that game out of nowhere and never looked back. They won a convincing victory in Game 3, and that sneaky backdoor there from Souter. What a game he had on that Mordekaiser.
Yeah, and honestly, UBC Souter had a really great series as a whole. I mean, obviously, Game 1, he had the Gnar gameplay, and he was able to have an impact. Didn't quite have enough to kind of stop that Gnar from, stop the Orm from doing what he meant to do. But honestly, I think a lot of it came down to that Game 2 victory that TA Light, basically, like you said, stole from Collective. Collective should have outright won that game, easy peasy, but they made one mistake. They lost a fight. They ended up losing the Baron, and then they ended up losing another fight, and death timers were like 40 plus seconds, and they weren't quite able to respond quickly enough, and they lost the game that they basically had complete control over. Even Lobotomy Larry even had a pentakill in that game, and they still lost.
He had a pentakill, and then on the following fight, they lost, gave up the Baron, like you say, and then from there, Lobotomy Larry died, and they ended the game.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, okay. Big shout out to Dr. Phil and Chill in this matchup.
Yeah.
Has played phenomenally, really able to shut Lobotomy Larry out of a lot of these games, especially in that Malzahar game. I really loved that pickup. ADC ARAM picking Flan's Jinx away and just absolutely dumpstering people on it. I love to see that. You already mentioned Souter having a fantastic game, and I think apart from game one where Spoozy struggled a little bit on the Volibear, after that really cleaned thing up. Had a couple really nice Hecarim games, and here on the Jarvan I think was a big difference maker. Some of those Cataclysms made huge differences in those fights.
Yeah, absolutely. And now that collective has been knocked out of the CCS, we will have a new champion
That's
come
true.
forth to someone to actually take away their crown. They no longer can defend themselves, which collective, you talked a lot of talk, wasn't quite able to back it up,
Yeah.
unfortunately for you guys. So your run does end in the CCS, but you did bring some nice banter. You did bring the nice little rats coming forward, but unfortunately it wasn't quite enough. But huge congratulations to TA Light.
Yeah.
Really nice mental this series, especially with kind of how game one and specifically game two went.
Yeah.
Being able to bounce back, steal away that game two, and ride that momentum for game three and game four, picking up the series win here. Now you kind of just have to wait until I guess the other matchup, which is CCS two between TA Knight and Dorado to finish up, and then after that, Hard Hat gets to choose their opponent going into next week's match.
Absolutely. All right, we are going to have an interview here with UBC Souter, it looks like shortly. But before we do that, Orion, I need you to crown an MVP of this series. I'm not giving you much time to think about it. So, who do you think was the best performing player here for those 4 games for TA Light?
So for all 4 games, I kind of want to give it to Sauter. I thought that this guy had definitely had a strong performance all 4 games. Even the
Mhm.
games where his team wasn't necessarily performing all that great around him,
Yeah,
he definitely
totally.
was putting up consistent numbers all the way through, especially all 4 games. I also thought, Dr. Phil and Chill did a fantastic job of basically neutralizing anything
Yes.
Lobotomy Larry wanted to do in this matchup.
Yes.
So I would give it to UBC Soda for the entire of the 4 games MVP, which I do believe he is going to be our interviewee. So
Yes,
let's
he sure is. We're going to take a short break for about a minute while we set that one up, but we'll be right back with the victorious Souter.
Everybody panic! Hold on! I'm about
Welcome back, everybody. We are here with the victorious UBC Souter after their win over the collective. Souter, first of all, thank you for being here. And second of all, how are you feeling after taking down the collective here in that 4 game series?
Uh, really good. I think our team's generally satisfied with how we played. I think the general consensus was that we were gonna beat them, but um, obviously, like we know that they won last split, and they looked pretty confident going into the playoffs. So
Mhm.
we were a little bit nervous, but I'm glad we won.
Well, I don't know if you noticed or if you were watching the stream, but Orion did just give you the MVP for that series. So congratulations! I thought fantastic performance from you in all 4 games. What was your mentality like coming into that game? Obviously, that you were a little bit nervous, but for you personally in that top lane matchup, what did you feel like you had to get done, and what was kind of your mentality? Yeah, headed into the series.
Um, I think what we discussed as a team, we realized that their mid is like the strong side and top and jungle are the weakest points in their team. And um, their top is an Aatrox one trick, so uh, our team's plan was to either ban Aatrox every game or um, let me counter Aatrox with Fiora. But I don't think for some reason their top we left Aatrox open a couple of games. Although
Right.
but then he didn't pick it. So that's when I kind of realized that he's either not very confident going playing Aatrox or they just decided to not give him his best champion for some reason. Um, but other than that, I think I was pretty confident going into these games. Um, and yeah, my hands were a bit uh, shaking the first couple games, but then after we won that game 2, I think we got in the mood.
Yeah, and just kind of look at this series as a whole. I'm sure a lot of people that submitted their brackets definitely put you guys winning this matchup. But after taking the game 1 loss and almost losing game 2, except for you guys were barely able to scrape your way into that one, what was it like? What was the kind of the comms going through, especially kind of after how those first 2 games went?
Yeah, game after game 1, um, I think it was the uh, Graves and Lucian that popped off a bit.
Hmm.
Um, and I think it was also the game where Senna and Tom Kench got super behind, and
Yeah.
I but I didn't think that we were worse than them because um, our comms after that game was like we can run the same similar comp where we just play for scaling, but just don't disrespect the jungler, and we should be able to win. And I think that's what kind of what we did game 2. I forget what we played, but the comms in game 2 were when you're behind, we just someone said let's coin flip and fight mid, and then we won. So we won. That was
The coin came up heads. You love to see it.
yeah.
I want to hear a little bit more about Game 4, and specifically that kind of that last fight when you were going for the back door and the rest of the team was trying to keep the collective as busy as they could and maybe try and fight for the dragon or kind of do what they could in that scenario. In those kind of hectic scenarios, what are the comms like for the team? Is it you kind of being like, "Hey guys, I'm splitting. I can end the game," and what kind of is the vibe like in the team? Who is making those shot calls? And just in that moment specifically, what was kind of the call from the team?
Um, so I'm not sure if this is true, but apparently this is like my third game playing Mordekaiser. Um,
I can check the
in
stats.
comp. No, I mean like in including scrims. Um,
Okay,
so I actually don't know that champ very well, but I only picked it because I heard that it's good against Ornn. Um, so our it was actually the entire team calling it. They said they're gonna slow him down at Dragon, and I can backdoor and end. But then while I was at their Nexus, and I actually didn't know if I can hit the Nexus in my ult, so
right.
I just asked my team, hey guys, can I hit the Nexus when I'm in my ult? And then they said they just screamed at me yes. So yeah, that was the comms.
I would not have guessed that that was only your third Mordekaiser game, especially after that 1v3 outplay in the bot side, which I think kind of led into that dragon scenario. So huge hats off to you for that pick for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so now you're moving on in the playoffs. Ultimately, your opponent is either going to end up being Hardhead Stone or DNX. Is there an opponent, either one of them, do you feel like is going to be an easier matchup for you? Or do you feel like it's going to be like, or is there one that you particularly would prefer in this matchup going into, I guess I should say?
Um, I think as a group we want to play against. Actually, I'm not sure. I, as I say personally, I would prefer Hard Hat, just because I think um DNX has like much better macro, and
Okay.
they just know how to play the game better, in my opinion. But um, sorry, I lost track. DNX's top laner Panzora, he's really good. I think he capped me in that one game. So I would like to do a rematch, but if that's not possible, if you're against Hard Hat, then we'll just try our best to win.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't think you should feel bad about getting gapped by Panzora. He's kind of been gapping everyone. So we'll have to see how that does go if that is your matchup. I think that's all the questions I have for you. Do you have anything else there, Orion?
Well, yeah, I was just going to ask real quick. There is still the potential for a bit of a civil war to happen between TA Knight and TA Light, depending on
Brew.
if they end up winning their series. So, obviously, are you rooting for your sister team to just outright win to go all the way to conference finals to meet you guys, or would you rather them lose than you guys end up making it farther than they do?
Um, I definitely want them to win. Obviously, like I'm, I wouldn't say I'm close, but then I know a few of them, and
Hmm.
they're really great people. So yeah, I definitely want them to win and hopefully win the whole thing.
Nice.
Because uh, they mechanically, I do think like most of their players are super good. Probably top, like one of the top in their roles in CCS.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I do root for them. I don't know if they're still playing, but I do hope they beat Dorado.
They're
And
currently up 2-1 in their series. So
Yep.
yeah, which is expected of them. I think everyone predicted um, Knight to win. But
yeah.
yeah, I hope they go all the way to finals, and hopefully we'll be able to meet them there.
All right. TA Light versus TA Knight conference finals. That would be a banger for sure. Um, all right. Well, thank you so much for the interview here. Congratulations again on the MVP. Is there anything you want to shout out to anyone watching the games or anything about your team here before we do sign off?
Yeah. Thank you, team, for um being you guys. You guys are great. Thank you, Coach Peels, my personal positional coach. Um, he he's the one who's been teaching me all these different champions and matchups, and I really appreciate that. Um, Thank you, Coach Wind. You are great.
Awesome.
All
Love to
right.
hear it. Well, thank you again, Souter, for the interview, and good luck the rest of your way through the playoffs.
Thank you.
All right, that is going to do it for us here at the CCS1. Go ahead and check out the CCS2. It does look like they're just starting their game 4 there. TA Knight leading the series 2-1 against Dorado Gaming Omega. And otherwise, we will see you guys next week for some more CCS action. This is Lindor and Orion signing off for the night.